Before the Premier League's first ever winter break, should be an absolute corker. These two served up a titanic battle in the quarter-finals of last season's Champions League, while the animosity between Messrs Mourinho and Guardiola adds an extra bit of spice to the occasion. City's grip on the title was further loosened by Liverpool's emphatic win over Southampton yesterday, but Pep will be desperate to ensure the defending champions don't finish any lower than second place. Spurs, meanwhile, well, their hopes of a top four finish look forlorn when Mourinho replaced Mauricio Pochettino as manager, but they can move to within 4 points of Chelsea with victory in this one. Huge incentive then for both, not to mention the personal pride of the men in the respective dugouts. The team sheets are in. One interesting alteration for Tottenham from the side that drew at Southampton. Decisions, or the lack of them, at the King Power Stadium. Manchester United held to a dour goalless draw at home by Wolverhampton Wanderers. Bournemouth 2, Aston Villa 1. Bournemouth had to see out the last 40 minutes of that game with 10 men, but picked up a priceless win to haul themselves out of the relegation places. Palace just in danger maybe of dropping down the table, lost 1-0 at home to Sheffield United, who are now 5th outright in the Premier League table. Remarkable from Chris Wilder's men. Newcastle 0, Norwich 0. Fans not happy with the way Steve Bruce set his side out for that one. Watford were 2-0 up going into half-time, ended up losing 3-2, despite the fact Everton had a man sent off at Vicarage Road. And West Ham 3, Brighton 3. Steve, your old club 2-0 and 3-1 up, and they still didn't win.
Yeah, and I was there, unfortunately. It was a strange game. We actually looked a lot better balanced, but we could have been 2-0 down. Brighton had 2 gilt-edged chances that they missed, and then we went up the other end and scored a couple of goals, and you think, here we go. And then straight after half-time, Brighton come back and get an equaliser, and you're thinking the panic sets in. Then you get another deflected goal through Snodgrass, a decent strike, and you think at 3-1, surely we're home and dry. And then the subs come on, and the goals that we conceded were absolutely horrific. You know, Arthur Masuaku, where the mix-up between the two centre-halves, he just got to control it with his left foot at the left-back area and just clip it down the line. He's trying to volley it inside to the holding midfielder. It gets, intercepted, and then there's a mix-up between the two centre-halves. So, yeah, it was a massive body blow, Alex, yesterday. You left at 3-1, didn't you? So when did you work out it was a draw? Was it when you got home and you put the highlights on? Was it when you picked up the newspaper this morning? When I walked in the pub and seen 3-3 and thought, oh, wow, we're in trouble. Serious trouble. Give me a pint of lager. Yeah, you ordered a stiff drink on that one. Let's hear from David Moyes, the West Ham manager, who told TalkSport afterwards that the draw felt like a defeat.
Aye, because to be twice in the lead by 2 goals, you always think, well, it's a good cushion. But I have to say, I think the second half showed the fatigue and the effort the boys put in against Liverpool as well was noticeable. Also bringing a couple of players in, which we felt we needed to do. We needed to sort of freshen the team up. We've done it, but I thought both Mickey Antonio to get 70 minutes and Thomas Souček to get best part of 75 minutes. I thought it was a great effort by them both.
Comes David Moyes reacting to West Ham 3, Brighton 3. Let's look at some of the other results, Steve, down at the bottom of the table. That was the vitality. Bournemouth for 45 minutes against Aston Villa played as well as they have all season. Then Jefferson Lerma was sent off and had to show a bit of character, really, but it's back-to-back home wins now. First time in 13 months they've managed that, and crucially, they've come against Villa and Brighton, two of the sides they're competing with at the bottom. Yeah, obviously saw Bournemouth at West Ham, only a month ago, and they looked dead and buried, to be honest. They looked like a team that were lacking in confidence, lacking in bodies, but like you said, 2 results against in and around your 6-pointers really has been a massive lift. Ryan Fraser looks like he's back to somewhere near what he was like last season. He's come out and apologised for his performances. Not often a player does that, but all credit to him, and he'll be key. Them players will be key
key, because if you want to stay in the division, you've got to score goals. Yes, you've got to be defensively sound, and they were after the sending off, which I thought was a little bit harsh, but they showed good character.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you fear a bit for Crystal Palace, because Roy Hodgson wanted players in on deadline day, wanted Bowen, of course, who's gone to West Ham, amongst others. They tried for Carrasco as well, a deal that was never really going to happen with the money that he was on in China, and they are just starting to slide down the table. Could they be that one team there always seems to be who get dragged in late on?
Well, they could be. They're so reliant on Louis Saha, not Louis Saha,
Wilf Zaha.
Wilf Zaha, his brother. They're so reliant on him that if he was to get injured, you'd really, really fear for them. They're so one-dimensional. I think that's why he was so desperate to get another attacker in. But obviously weren't able to do that. And like you say, it only takes 2 or 3 games and you're right back into it.
Liverpool were quite poor for the first half yesterday, but still ended up running out 4-0 winners. I mean, you do run out of superlatives. Are they now becoming the best team that we've ever seen in the Premier League? Are they better than Arsenal's Invincibles? Are they better than the first side that Mourinho built at Chelsea? Are they better than the Manchester United team that won the treble?
Well, I think they certainly deserve to be talked in that vein. If they go the season unbeaten, I think you have no doubt there. You just look at the quality they've got, and like you said, it's a mark of a truly great team when they're at, in third gear, they can still grind out wins.
I think they were better last season than they are this.
Yeah, I think they're absolutely right, and I think all credit to him, the way they lost the championship last year away, how Man City did so well, could have really put a knife into the side, but it didn't. They've obviously come back well, and they just look like there's no weaknesses, Alex.
Back to the teams at the bottom. Watford back in trouble. Of course, they had that amazing revival when Nigel Pearson first came in. Troy Deeney was saying he was the Messiah. Suddenly they lose a couple of games in quite dramatic circumstances. I guess the problem for Watford, when you start a season as badly as they did, and therefore you're playing catch-up, you almost have to win every week, and when you stop winning, quickly you slide back into trouble.
Well, no matter what you do, you're in a relegation battle all season, and as simple as that there. That there must have been a real kick in the teeth yesterday. They'd been 2-0 up. The 2 goals...
2 bad goals before half-time.
Conceded set pieces. I think Craig Cathcart could have done better. And then to obviously lose a winner, with down to 10 men that you're playing against is a proper hammer blow. And like you say, it's how they bounce back. And I think the next 2 games are key for Watford.
Yeah, and just events at Old Trafford, or lack of events really at Old Trafford. Of course, we saw Fernandes make his Manchester United debut. Looked impressive, but still a pretty wretched result in the grand scheme of things.
Listen, whatever way you look at it, they've brought Aggregate back, from China, and I think it just shows their recruitment policy, how bad it is. They were talking that Man United didn't want a big forward, and that's why they got rid of Lukaku. Now they're desperate for a short-term one. It just goes to show you the difference between Liverpool and Man United, the planning that goes on at Liverpool. It's like night and day. Man United are so short-term, and to say that about one of the biggest clubs in the world is absolutely shambolic.
I think the only game we haven't really touched upon was Newcastle against Norwich, and we won't touch upon it because it was absolute garbage. Let's get an update, or let's get a roundup of events, I should say, in the early kick-off this afternoon. Burnley against Arsenal. Toby Gillis was our commentator for that one.
Much huffing and puffing and no shortage of chances, but neither side could trouble the score sheet today in an entertaining clash at Turf Moor. Burnley confident with their robust style. Arsenal all tricks and flicks, but maybe need a bit of Burnley injected into them by Mikel Arteta. The Gunners had marginally the better chances first half. Aubameyang, rusty after a 3-game ban, played through, certain to score, only to shoot comedically wide. But Burnley were more at it second half and created, among a number of fairly good chances, one gilt-edged one for Jay Rodriguez, but his volleyed finish from 6 yards out crashed off the bar, down onto the line and spun away. For Arsenal, a club record equalling 4th league draw in a row after Arteta's only win against Manchester United, but still bottom half and still, as with this result, level with Burnley. Must do better. Burnley 0, Arsenal 0.
Yeah, that game at Turf Moor, one of 3 0-0 draws in the Premier League this weekend. Probably fair to say it was the best of them, but certainly that United Wolves game, are we seeing now that maybe this winter break is needed, because there was 2 tired teams out there at Old Trafford?
Yeah, 2 poor teams, I thought, as well. I usually like watching Wolves, but I thought it was a right drab game, and it goes to show you how much of a job Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has if he keeps his job by the end of the season. That's the big question mark. But you look how far behind every position. Tell me one Man United player that would even get into Liverpool's squad. I don't think there'd be too many.
I guess the one saving grace for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, if he does lose his job at Manchester United, then the likes of Barcelona, Real Madrid, they won't. Let's look ahead to our game this afternoon. It's Tottenham against Manchester City, and of course it means the 2 old enemies, Mourinho and Guardiola, are reunited.
With him, nothing. With him, I remember more the 3 years that we fought on the same side, working together in the same club and sharing the space of the work every day for 3 years. I remember more that than what people can think about rivalry. Then, of course, Barcelona's and Real Madrid, Inter and Barcelona in Champions League, City and United, now Tottenham and City. But again, no Jose and Pep, clubs, teams. And that's just one more chapter. A new chapter for us, because it's the first time Tottenham against Manchester City with us, but never Jose and Josep like he is in his Catalan. So for me, it's a game that I want to win, because I want my team to win, and we need points, no more than that.
Pep Guardiola and Jose Mourinho there, looking ahead to Tottenham against Manchester City. Kick-off rapidly approaching here on Premier League Live. Jose Mourinho has lost more games, Steve, against Pep Guardiola than any other manager. It's a rivalry, despite what you were saying about the 2 managers mellowing out, that does run deep, and they'll both love to put one over the other this afternoon. I
think it'll certainly peak Jose Mourinho, but you look at the calibre of teams that Pep has had, certainly have had the upper edge on that scenario, and I think it's the same today. You look at the 2 teams, you'd have to say if it was a betting contest, Manchester City are firm favourites.
What did you make of their performance against Manchester United in midweek? Obviously lost the game, they missed so many chances, but was it an attitude problem? Did they think the job was already done?
Well, obviously he was tinkering with the formation, trying different things. It was a bit strange, and really, what does it say for John Stones? He's putting 2 fullbacks in when he's playing with 3 centre halves, so I don't know what it says for him, but I think he's gone back. I think the first 15 minutes are okay, and then it was just a poor game. You're looking at Man City and Man United, you think, come on, surely there's better quality than what they're producing, but it was a bit of a drab affair, to be honest.
John Stones not on the bench this afternoon. Do you think his days may be numbered at the Etihad?
Well, I don't know what's going on. I'm just wondering, is it an attitude thing? Because he just doesn't seem to fancy him at the minute. But listen, he bought him, so what does that say about the manager? We're all hearing about him, he's a great coach, this, that and the other, he gets into the mind of players. Why can't he get in the mind of John Stones?
I wonder what we find. Fernandinho is playing at centre-half this afternoon. Was that one of the best bits of January business, tying him to a new contract?
Yeah, he's been superb, hasn't he? To have that sort of player that can play midfield, anchor, centre-half. To be fair, normally 9 times out of 10 he doesn't have to do much defending, he's just coming out with the ball because of the way the Pep likes to think. But I think what will be crucial is when they go into the Champions League, they need that defensive structure, they need Laporte back to the form he was.
Of course, it is Super Bowl night over in the States, which means we're about to be treated to one of those cringe-worthy lighting displays as the teams prepare to come out at the magnificent Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Let's hope there's plenty of pyrotechnics on the pitch as Tottenham take on Manchester City, a huge game to round off another bumper weekend. You are listening to Premier League Live.
TalkSport. Download the TalkSport app now for online fun, fixture talk and lashings of live football. Football. Then stick it in your ear. Ouch. Talk Sport. This is what real sport sounds like.
Hello, I'm Tom Rennie from TalkSport, and you've made the decision to listen to Premier League Live. I commend you on this decision. You're clearly a person who knows what's up and what's happening, as well as other phrases from 80s movies said by generic cool people in said movies. For example, Emilio Estevez. With that being said, why not try downloading TalkSport's football-related Game Day podcasts? Ahead of a Premier League weekend, usually on Thursday, Sam Matterface hosts the Game Day Premier League Preview Show podcast. On Saturday, we cut up the very best of our manager reaction and player interviews, bung in a few funny callers, and hey presto, you get the Your Verdict podcast. And on Monday morning, Danny Kelly is joined by the likes of Mark Webster, Mark Smith, Steve Lomas, David Connolly, and a host of other affordable names to look back at the footballing weekend, picking out the winners and losers in the Record Book podcast. Just search for Game Day podcast and they will appear. I'm in some of these shows too.
Talk Sport. Don't be like Alan Brazil. Never miss a day's output with the new updated Talk Sport app. Is that right, Alan?
I'm absolutely knackered.
Download the app at talksport.com. This is what real sport sounds like.
This Saturday is Game Day on TalkSport 2.
Your go-to destination for a full-service Premier League experience.
One day, so much football.
He shoots, he scores.
This Saturday is Game Day on TalkSport 2.
It is game on.
TalkSport. Download the TalkSport app now for online fun, fixture talk, and lashings of live football. Football. Then stick it in your ear. Ouch. TalkSport. This is what real sport sounds like.
Saturday is Game Day on TalkSport and TalkSport 2.
It's big ticket live Premier League football you can't afford to miss.
Hi, I'm Matt Target from Aston Villa.
Hi, I'm Bournemouth centre-back Chris Mepham.
Hi, I'm Jan Vertongen. Listen to Game Day on TalkSport.
Game Day.
It's a brilliant goal.
This Saturday
on TalkSport and TalkSport 2. Official broadcast partner of the Premier League.
TalkSport. Get with the net, Grandad. Make space on your mobile for the TalkSport phone app, the channel-hopping, station-swapping gizmo that's taking the UK by storm. It's ear trumpet compatible. Download the TalkSport app now at talksport.com.
You are listening to TalkSport's coverage of Tottenham against Manchester City from the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I'm your host, Alex Crook. Alongside me is the former West Ham, Northern Ireland, and indeed Manchester City midfielder Steve Lomas. This is Premier League Live. It is the latest instalment of the fiercest managerial rivalry of the past decade. Jose Mourinho and Pep Guardiola have gone from being buddies at Barcelona to the best of enemies. From eye gouging to hair jibes, their touchline tussles always seem to serve up plenty of talking points. It's a feud built on both bosses' unquenching thirst for silverware, and will the biggest prize will elude them this season, they can still dent each other's respective aspirations, a chance neither man, you suspect, will want to pass up. For Guardiola, the focus is on cementing City's grip on runners-up spot. For Mourinho, the opportunity to move to within 4 points of the top four. Steve Lomas, it all adds up to some feisty Sunday afternoon fare.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. Hopefully it's not going to let us down. You know, we spoke about the attacking players, you know, the quality that's on offer here today. Should be a good game, and like I say, if we get a little bit of a theatre on the sideline, that would be good as well.
Yeah, Manchester City's lineup in particular packed with attacking talent, and there's a first Premier League start for Tottenham's new January signing, Steven Bergwijn as well. Not the only alteration to the Spurs side that drew 1-1 at Southampton in the FA Cup last weekend. Jedson drops to the bench to allow the Dutchman to make his debut. Hugo Lloris in goal, Aurier, Alderweireld, Sanchez and Tanganga in defence. Then come Winks and Lo Celso, Bergwijn, Dele Alli and Son behind Lucas Moura up front for Manchester City. Ederson in goal, Walker, Fernandinho, Otamendi and Zinchenko in defence. Gundogan and Rodri will hold in midfield. Mahrez, De Bruyne and Sterling supporting Sergio Aguero, who just loves scoring against Tottenham. He loves scoring against everybody up front. Well, Manchester City looking for 3 straight league victories on Tottenham territory for the first time since 1974. It's the visitors all in black this afternoon, shooting from left to right, who've got us off and underway. Spurs in their usual white shirts, navy shorts and white socks, attacking the goal away to our left-hand side. Manchester City dictating the ball in these opening seconds. Will that set the tone for the afternoon, Steve?
Yeah, I would have thought so. You know, it looks very similar formations, both teams playing 4-2-3-1, so it's really about who can dominate their individual battles, you know, with the ball and without it. And like you said, Alex, in likelihood is Man City will have the edge in terms of possession.
Who's this a bigger game for? Is it Mourinho or is it Guardiola?
I think it's probably more for Mourinho. He's obviously trying to really stamp his DNA at Tottenham. Obviously Pochettino being there for quite a few years, he's trying to bring his own players in, get his brand of football, and that's going to take time and transfer windows.
Tottenham having to defend here as Manchester City tried to release Mahrez down the right hand side. Hugo Lloris, wearing the captain's armband, gets there ahead of the Algerian. Jose Mourinho already on his feet on the edge of the technical area. He's enjoyed some terrific tangles with Pep Guardiola in the past. Who can forget the victory masterminded for Inter Milan when Guardiola was in charge of Barcelona in the Champions League. I think it's fair to say two managers not top of each other's Christmas card lists. Here's Mahrez down the right, raiding on this near touchline for Manchester City with 2 minutes played, 0-0 the score. That's how it finished at Turf Moor in the earlier kick-off. Burnley against Arsenal. We are expecting goals in this one. Manchester City with so many forward players on the pitch, and here is Ilkay Gundogan. De Bruyne's made a run to the left-hand side and has been found by Gundogan. Comes back in field for Rodri. Tall Spanish international. Tottenham haven't had a kick yet, Steve. 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, Man City popping it around, lovely little passes, playing little triangles, trying to move this Tottenham team about. I'd imagine there'll be a lot of this from Tottenham sitting in their own half, trying to be compact, trying to stay together and not let Man City play through them.
Aguero forward into the feet of De Bruyne. It's uncanny how alike De Bruyne and Zinchenko, the left back, look for Manchester City. Here is Mahrez. Infield for Rodri. Tottenham fans in good voice as Rodri floats the ball into the penalty area, cushion down for Aguero, tries to play it through the legs of Alderweireld, who was alert to the danger, and it's carried clear now by Giovanni Lo Celso. Had an excellent game, man of the match in that 1-1 draw at St Mary's last weekend, but he's been dispossessed. And Aguero snapping away at Dele Alli to win it back again for Manchester City. To Facet and Pep Guardiola has certainly brought to the Argentines game over the past couple of years. Here they come down the left-hand side once more.
I think that's what they're good at, Alex, in terms of, because you get so many bodies forward, they're there, they press on you immediately and don't allow you. They want to win it back as quick as possible, and they don't give you time to settle. And Tottenham at the minute are just struggling to cope with the pace and the intensity that Man City have started with.
Mike Dean is the referee, a man who's dished out plenty of red cards, more than 100 of them over the course of his Premier League career. 16 years a Premier League referee, you can't take that away from him. He's often a character who polarises opinion.
Well, they're never meant to be like, were they, Alex? Let's be honest.
Did you have a favourite referee?
I didn't have many favourites, but no, I didn't mind them all. Listen, away from the pitch, when you're on the pitch, you just want to win. You'll do anything, even upset a referee or two. But listen, away from it, they're all good guys. All, it's a hard job, made even harder, in my opinion, with VAR. I just think the sooner we abolish it, the better.
I remember a great Roy Keane story about David Ellery, who sent Keane off in not one but 2 FA Cup semi-finals. Apparently, he went up to him in the tunnel at Old Trafford before one game and said, "You want to book me now and get it out of the way?"
Yeah, I think he was a school teacher, wasn't he, David? So,
he was at Harrow. Yeah.
He liked to hand out the discipline, not on the pitch and off it as well.
5 minutes gone. Tottenham yet really to get going. Son there can't keep the ball in play as it was floated forward by Toby Alderweireld.
You look and see why Mourinho wanted Giroud. He always favoured a big target man with players playing off him, and I think that is definitely the one position that Tottenham struggle now. Harry Kane is out of it. Somebody who can get hold of it and relieve pressure from them when they're sitting deep.
The applause you can hear is because Steven Bergwijn has just immediately endeared himself to the Tottenham faithful by dispossessing Kyle Walker on the halfway line. It was a powerful surge forward from the England right back, but Bergwijn, who is quite physical actually for a player who's not particularly tall in stature, and it's floated forward here for Dele Alli, I think was offside. Hits his shot straight at Ederson, the goalkeeper, anyway, but he can mix it. Steven Bergwijn is the point I'm trying to make, and we saw an example there, Steve.
Yeah, I think Dele Alli, he's onside. He's onside actually, and it's a very poor decision from the assistant referee. But what I like about Tottenham is they've got plenty of fluidity up front. Steven Bergwijn, we thought would start on the right, he's drifted on the left.
Son's on the right hand side at the moment.
Son's through the middle now at the minute. So listen, they've got quality that can hurt Man City. It's just whether or not they can get enough of the ball off Man City to do that.
Here's Aguero inside the centre circle. He also slides in, wins it back for Spurs, and then Bergwijn had his pocket picked by Sergio Aguero. Aguero with the bleached blonde hair goes back to Walker inside the Manchester City half away to our left.
Something Steven Bergwijn will have to get used to. Obviously coming to this league, the intensity of it, you don't have a minute. It's not like where he's been playing in the Dutch division. They'll have time, normally 9 times out of 10 PSV will dominate the ball, so you just have to sharpen up in that aspect.
Spurs 0, Manchester City 0. Last game of the weekend, last game before the winter break. The next round of fixtures split in half, 5 of them taking place next weekend, while the other half of the Premier League put their feet up, and the other half the weekend after, although of course there are FA Cup replays on Tuesday and Wednesday night, which has been a bone of contention for Jurgen Klopp in particular. I think he has a point, in fairness. What's the point in scheduling a winter break and then putting some fixtures in the diary?
It's not just that though, he's cheesed off about his actually telling him who he should pick. He's done a good enough job so far, and if he wants to pick the young players, and we're always crying that young players don't get an opportunity, this is a valuable opportunity to give young players a chance to play for a top team.
Here's Kyle Walker, definitely playing for a top team here in Manchester City, who are continuing to dominate possession, yet really to test Hugo Lloris in the Tottenham goal though. Zinchenko on the left hand side, infield for Raheem Sterling, who's going through a bit of a goal drought. Rodri chips it over the top, Mahrez in space because Tanganga had drifted inside. Here's De Bruyne, who I think should have cut it back to Manchester City teammates waiting inside the 6-yard box. He went for goal from a tight angle and he's blazed it into the stand.
It's a lovely work from Man City. Rodri out the tank to, I think it's Riyad Mahrez, and it's a run from De Bruyne that he feeds him just inside, and what he should do is try to beat Lloris near post. He should shoot across him. Great opportunity, or square it like you said, Alex, but a golden opportunity for Man City to get the first goal, and really very unlike Kevin De Bruyne to choose the wrong option.
He needs 2 more goals for 50 in a Manchester City shirt. Kevin De Bruyne, he unlocked the Tottenham defence there, but I think he should have pulled it back to Gundogan, who would have had a tap in. Here's Sterling for Manchester City. This is ominous as far as Tottenham are concerned so far. 9 minutes played, and the home side camped inside their own half. Here's Kyle Walker. Aguero's made a run into the centre, and he sweeps it forward, blocked by Davinson Sanchez. Aguero on the follow-up and blocked again. Good defending by Davinson Sanchez. All too easy though, the way that Tottenham are carved open, but here they come on the counter-attack. Dele Alli has found Son, running against Fernandinho. Son into the penalty area, great challenge Fernandinho, just as Son was trying to cut it back for Dele Alli, and now Zinchenko wins it back for Manchester City on the corner of the penalty area.
Just looking at that chance, Alex, it's Steven Bergwijn again. He doesn't track the run of Kyle Walker, he gets in the overlap and cuts it back to Aguero, and the only surprise is that he doesn't score. It's a great run, great cross, great pick out from Kyle Walker, and good block by Sanchez.
Well, De Bruyne onto Sterling, and Sterling's in behind here, goes down inside the penalty area where his heel's clipped. A hopeful look towards Mike Dean. Serge Aurier was the potential offender. Mike Dean turns his back on the protest, and Tottenham will clear it away once more.
Yeah, and they're just cutting Tottenham open at the back, and he's got history, Serge Aurier. He's a bit clumsy. Looked like it was a hand on the back of Raheem Sterling when he was clean through. The referee didn't see it that way, but
well, VAR will be checking it at Stockley Park. We won't know if there's an official review until players come to a natural halt. Mike Dean, if there is, will put his hand to the earpiece, but Raheem Sterling had a good look at the referee as he went down.
I don't think it matters when they're checking, they still get it wrong. You know, this VAR was supposed to be brought in to be safe proof, but it still comes down to a matter of the opinion and the person who's doing the analysis. And you look at the Liverpool game, you look at the West Ham game, you look at the Bournemouth game, you know, there's more mistakes than fixes for me at the minute.
Sergio Aguero trying to jink his way into the penalty area. Aurier slides in and wins it back for Tottenham and clips it forward down the right hand side. Looking for Lucas Moura. It's put into touch by Fernandinho, and all eyes here now on Mike Dean as we get the opportunity to watch a replay. There was a left arm in the back of Raheem Sterling, but did he go to ground too easily?
Yeah, there was, Alex, but I think it was
a push.
It's a slight push, not enough for him to go down, but it's just Sergio Aurier, he looks good at times, but he just makes rash decisions, and putting his hand on Raheem Sterling gives the referee an opportunity to call the decision. But I think the bigger worry for me for Tottenham is how easy Man City are cutting them open.
They do look dangerous on the counter themselves, though. Here's Bergwijn trying to show his pace, but Otamendi equal to the task. He plays it back to the goalkeeper who hesitated, and Fernandinho in the end helps usher it back to Ederson. Lucas Moura just for a moment thought he was in.
Wow, and Ederson looked like he was having a daydream there. It looked like he just had to go and collect it. No danger whatsoever. And he just slows up, and it gives Lucas Moura a chance to.
I think he kicked it against Lucas Moura in the end.
He did kick it against it, but he just had to collect it with his hands. He just looked like he was daydreaming. He thought he had already got caught.
12 minutes played. Spurs 0, Manchester City 0. Here's Aguero turning deep inside the Tottenham half. Sterling on the edge of the penalty area. Tries to shift it from left foot to right. And he's clattered in the end into the challenge. And there's a Spurs player down. I think it's Dele Alli. And it's a yellow card for Raheem Sterling. First booking of the afternoon goes the way of the Manchester City man. He's just trying to help Dele Alli back to his feet.
Yeah, and that's the last thing Tottenham want. Dele Alli has finally picked up a bit.
Oh, that's a nasty challenge from Raheem Sterling.
It always looks worse in the replay, but he goes to win the ball, side foot, but his follow through catches Dele Alli right
on the ankle,
right on the inside of the.
It's not
the left
dissimilar
ankle
to the one for which Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang was sent off for Arsenal a few weeks ago.
Well, it'll be an well, they can't do anything about it now.
It's a VAR review for a potential red card, and I don't think there's much difference between this challenge from Raheem Sterling and the one that Aubameyang was sent off for Arsenal. That is a horrendous tackle from Raheem Sterling. I think this will be a red card.
I'm agreeing with you, Alex, and I think the situation is, the one thing you hope is that
no red card is the decision. Well, where is the consistency?
Well,
what's a red card on one side of North London isn't a red card, same offence on the other.
Well, this is
dangerous tackle.
It's a dangerous tackle.
Absolutely no question about it. And Raheem Sterling is really lucky to stay on the pitch here, and Dele Alli still looks rather groggy, it has to be said.
Yeah, he's lucky to be on the pitch as well. He's lucky that he hasn't broken his ankle there, because that was truly a leg breaking challenge.
14 minutes gone, and yet more VAR controversy. And I will ask again, and you alluded to it, what is the point in having the technology if you aren't going to use it properly? Well, anybody who knows anything about football viewing that challenge knows it's a red card.
You would have sympathy from Raheem Sterling in terms of he's going to block the ball, his challenge follows through.
The intent wasn't malicious.
No, but he's going to win the ball, but the laws of the game is that is a reckless challenge. You can't get away from it. That's the new laws. You could get away with it 10 years ago. I would have had sympathy for Raheem Sterling, but I'd had even more sympathy for Dele Alli if he had broke his leg.
Well, Jose Mourinho deep in conversation with the fourth official, and he's just gestured to his eyes to say maybe the referee needs glasses.
The thing about it is these people that are viewing this here.
Well, he's watching a replay, Jose Mourinho, and he immediately puts both hands over his face. He knows, as we know, that should be a red card. And Dele Alli here looks still in some discomfort.
Yeah, and it's a real shame because he's finally finding a bit of form again after a real lean spell for his standards. But you just wonder who are these people that you've got professional refs now. Now you're taking a lot of the decisions away from people who are what? Are they former refs? I don't know. Are they just some little computer bot who likes to go on the computer and does a bit of champ manager? I don't know, because I've seen 4 or 5 decisions yesterday, especially the ones at Liverpool, how that wasn't a penalty in terms of Firmino and I think it was
Danny Ings.
So I just don't know, these people that are viewing it, what's their credentials? You would like to know.
They're all referees, but that's part of the trouble, because they're all mates. The referee watching on VAR doesn't want to undermine Mike Dean by telling him he's got the wrong decision.
But that's his job. That's his job. That they said that they can't speak because he wants to be isolation. He wants to view it in isolation. If you view these decisions in isolation, you can come up with no other conclusion that that's a sending off, and the two penalty calls yesterday were penalties.
Tottenham got away with one in the FA Cup game in Southampton last week as well, when Tanganga clearly handled the ball late on. Again, it went to VAR. Again, no red card, no penalty, I should say. But Jose Mourinho will feel they've been on the wrong end of a controversial call early on here, and really it clouds what's been a decent football match so far. But when the technology was brought in, it was to improve the game. I think it's made it worse.
Listen, I know I'm from a bygone generation in terms of go back to the way it was. Let's go back to having the same old thing. It evens itself up, because we've tried this new way and it is not working, and it is taken away from me from the product of the game.
Tottenham 0, Manchester City 0. But we both feel that Manchester City should be a man down, having started this game much the better of the two sides. Raheem Sterling escaping a red card for dangerous play, and reluctant there, Sterling, to go into a challenge with Lo Celso.
I mean, the only good thing that's come out of it, Alex, is it looks like Dele Alli is moving freely. Let's hope he is, that doesn't stiffen up that ankle joint, because it was, nothing against Raheem Sterling. He's trying to win the ball back. He wasn't malicious, but, the rules of the game, that was a clear sending off, as you'll see.
We were talking before we came on air, because I was at Bournemouth yesterday, when you felt, Eddie Howe felt, that perhaps Jefferson Lerma, who was sent off for 2 yellow cards, was a victim really of his reputation. We'll come back to that, because Spurs are through here with Dele Alli, and Ederson has to come quickly off his line, a long way off his line as well, to clear. And straight away Manchester City on the attack at the other end. Mahrez jinking into the penalty area. He's got Aguero in the centre, well held up by Steven Bergwijn, and he will clear it upfield for Spurs. And I just wonder if it was Jefferson Lerma and not Raheem Sterling who made that tackle, maybe Mike Dean's original decision would have been different.
Yeah, I just think
it's not that type of player line, isn't it?
Yeah, I just think it's one of them sort of situations. He's guilty by reputation, but for me, you judge it on the incident. Surely that's what it's all about. Not whether he's a good lad, or he's an England international, or he's prone to a booking. I just thought that he had nowhere to go yesterday when Grealish played the 1-2, and basically I thought it was a cheap decision, but it just does me head in every week, and I know there's going to be little flaws that need to be ironed out, but I've always said it's still down to somebody's interpretation. It's not full proof, and it's proved to be the case. We're getting more decisions wrong than we're getting right.
Manchester City in possession. Rodri goes right back to Zinchenko on the edge of the penalty area. The Ukrainian plays it forward to Rodri. He tries to stretch away from Dele Alli, and then goes back to Otamendi. There are times when Dele Alli is playing in that central striker role for Spurs. Here's Zinchenko down the left-hand side for Manchester City. 0-0 the score. You're listening to Premier League Live in the company of Alex Crook and Steve Lomas, the former Manchester City midfielder.
I think that's the one good thing that Mourinho's done. He's put Dele Alli back into his best position.
Otamendi floating it forward, looking at Mahrez, but too much pace on the pass, and it will be a throw-in for Spurs. Level with their own penalty area. Tottenham have won only one of their last 7 matches without Harry Kane in the starting lineup. Haven't scored in 4 of those 7. Harry Kane once again watching from the stands at this superb, recently built stadium. Serge Aurier comes over the halfway line. The noise level goes up. Son taking on Fernandinho. Plenty of white shirts in the centre. If Son can get away from Fernandinho, stopped in his tracks, and Raheem Sterling back there to help out the Brazilian.
And you would have thought that's where Son would really have wanted Fernandinho 1-on-1, but the old campaigner just did well and stood on his feet.
Aguero pokes it out to Mahrez down the right, gives it back to Sergio Aguero, tried to knock it around Davinson Sanchez, cleared into touch by Harry Winks. He looks sharp. Sergio Aguero, 21 goals already this season. What a servant he's been to Manchester City. There's a very genuine argument to suggest that he's been the club's best ever player. And looking for Aguero in the penalty area, punched away by Lloris, who was quickly off his line. Winks forward to Dele Alli, looked to play it forward, but Rodri was there nipping in. It's a blind pass from Dele Alli that didn't come off, and here's Mahrez now, knocks it back into the centre circle, and Otamendi. 21 played, 0-0.
And that's point and case. Dele Alli, when he's in them deep positions, that's not his forte Lincoln play. He's got to get off, run forward, break ahead of the attacker and get in the box. And that's why I think his form has improved, because Mourinho's realised that there. He's not a playmaker, he's not a Glenn Hoddle, he's a guy that likes to get in the box a la Frank Lampard and score goals.
And of course he has that added incentive, Dele Alli, of playing for his place in Gareth Southgate's European Championship squad. Here's Aguero into the penalty area, good defending by Davinson Sanchez, and then Lloris sprawling, keeps it in play, stops Manchester City winning a corner and clears it into the City half, where it's picked up by Fernandinho.
I think it's no coincidence. You look, Pep's went back to 4-2-3-1 and Manchester City looked slicker. He looked like this is the formation that suits him. Certainly Kevin De Bruyne with that lovely little pass that set Sergio Aguero away.
De Bruyne dispossessed by Lo Celso though. Lucas Moura looking for the run of Son. He's the wrong side of Zinchenko, who's sliding in and just about got a toe end on the ball. And then it's knocked forward by Otamendi to Rodri, who has to circumnavigate Dele Alli and sprays it out this right hand side, and the pink booted Mahrez gingerly makes his way towards the halfway line. De Bruyne switches, looking for Sterling, does well to keep it in play with a head, Raheem Sterling, and nods it down for Zinchenko. Only Aguero in the centre. Zinchenko lost sight of it to Son, and in the end Manchester City have to settle for the first corner of the afternoon.
It's going to be a long evening for Tottenham. Man City popping it about, and they just normally wear you down. I think first goal is going to be critical, and I think Tottenham have to get it if they're going to get something from this game.
We've reached the midway point of the first half here on Premier League Live. No goals between Tottenham and Manchester City already today. It finished 0-0 when Arsenal travelled to face Burnley at Turf Moor. Corner will be taken for Manchester City by De Bruyne. Rodri trying to peel away at the far post, but there was pushing and shoving, and it will be a free kick to Spurs inside the penalty area. Manchester City unbeaten in their last 6 meetings with Tottenham, domestically anyway. Of course they did lose in the Champions League in that dramatic quarter-final, and they thought they'd snatched it right at the end, and that was a dubious VAR call. Maybe Pep Guardiola and Raheem Sterling have got a bit of retribution this afternoon for that one. Here is Otamendi, deep inside his own half, away to our left. Floodlights shining brightly. It's Manchester City producing most of the sparkling football and the dazzling play in this first half. Tottenham, to their credit though, so far limiting the clear scoring opportunities, and do look dangerous when they come forward on the counter attack. That's going to be a foul by Tanganga on Mahrez. Bit of naivety from the youngster.
A little bit of inexperience, but listen, if they've got a manager, somebody who can limit, have not much possession and nick a result, Mourinho's the master of it. He's done it in the past, and you can see the way Tottenham are set up. They're going to sit deep, they're going to let Man City play wide, and hopefully they've got bodies and enough strength in the centre to defend crosses, but it's easier said than done.
It's actually a centre-back by trade, Tanganga. Jose Mourinho likes to play in this Tottenham team with a centre-back at left-back, because Sergio Aurier commits forward, and that allows the rest of the defence to almost come across and make a back three. Does leave them exposed at times. Of course, they let Danny Rose go out on loan to Newcastle. On the last day of the transfer window, here's De Bruyne with a shot from distance straight down the throat of the goalkeeper Lloris.
I think there's obviously been a few issues between the manager and the player, and there's obviously, when that happens, there's only one winner. And obviously Mourinho signals an intent to his rest of the squad. If you don't obey the law, then you're out of the club.
Here's Bergwijn on the touchline. Tottenham pulls it back for Dele Alli. Dele Alli finds Winks, dead centre of the Manchester City half, strokes it out to the right, and Aurier's a bit hesitant. Sterling nips in, and then he's been pushed by Serge Aurier. It's going to be a free kick for a foul on Raheem Sterling, ironically.
Yeah, poor pass by Harry Winks, just needed to keep it, try to feed it out. It was too slow, the pass, and Raheem Sterling nips in and wins it. I just think Tottenham's working so hard without the ball, is when they do get it, they've got to try and keep it for 2 or 3 passes to give themselves a chance to get out of the defensive shape that they're going to be in for, quite a lot of this game.
20 minutes the first half remaining. It's Tottenham 0, Manchester City 0. Spurs have won 6 of their 8 home games under Jose Mourinho since he replaced Mauricio Pochettino towards the back end of last year. Here is Kyle Walker. Comes infield for Fernandinho. Zinchenko almost playing as a left wing back in this first half. Picks up the ball, yard in from the far touchline, back to Fernandinho. And here now is Kyle Walker. Walker clips it over the top. We'll give it the run of Mahrez again. He's got away from Tanganga. Mahrez in the penalty area, but he was offside. He just gesticulated there that maybe he needed the pass quicker. Davinson Sanchez has given it away to De Bruyne. De Bruyne with a cross into the area. Cleared away by Sanchez, and Hugo Lloris collapses over the ball.
And I think obviously with it being a centre-half by Tanganga, he's obviously prone to the odd lapse in concentration and knowing where he's at, and I think Riyad Mahrez has recognised this here. He's bringing him under the ball and trying to spin him behind.
We played 27 minutes. We still await the first goal here in North London. De Bruyne with a flicked header. Aguero not quite on his toes. It's carried all the way through to the blue-shirted Hugo Lloris anyway. And Lloris plays it out to the edge of the area. And again, they've been caught here, Tottenham. And here's Aguero. Chance to put Manchester City in front. Aguero off the post. And the rebound doesn't quite fall for Sterling.
And the most relieved man in this ground is Sanchez. It was an absolute terrible one. And it's a great toe from Hugo Lloris. Just seen that. Great save from the Tottenham goalkeeper to turn it on the post with his big toe.
Manchester City knocking on the door. Son here for Spurs, trying to play it forward. And it hits the hand of Rodri, and it will be a free kick for Tottenham. 20 yards or so inside the Manchester City half. And here again we see the attempt from Aguero, which, as you say, just the faintest of touches from Lloris to divert it onto the left-hand post. Pep Guardiola thought
he'll trying to play out from the back, but Sanchez at times looks a bit clumsy when he's in possession.
Here is Lloris, the goalkeeper. Of course, has missed much of the season through injury. He made quite a dramatic impression in that Champions League quarter-final. Saved a penalty, you may recall, in the first leg from Sergio Aguero. Only Alisson, in fact, has a better save percentage than Hugo Lloris this season. He was a real loss when he was out. Here's Fernandinho for Manchester City, trying to flick it forward for Zinchenko. One back by Son, but only temporarily. And Aguero gives it away, and Fernandinho is going to have to clear his lines and knocks the ball deep into Tottenham territory. Headed forward by Serge Aurier, the right back. Lo Celso, full of craft and guile in midfield, knocks it back to Alderweireld. Again there, Davinson Sanchez put under pressure by De Bruyne. Cleared away in the end by Hugo Lloris. Fernandinho out jumping Lucas Moura in the air, heads it forward. Sterling brings it down on the chest and gets it back from Aguero. De Bruyne in space down the right hand side. He's into the penalty area. Sterling continue the run, cut back for Aguero. Half clear by Lo Celso. Could still be a chance here. Mahrez trying to sell a dummy to Lo Celso, read it and slides in and gives Tottenham a bit of breathing space.
Yeah, but they're at full stretch, Alex, at the minute. It's just one-way traffic, and you can just see it's only going to be a matter of time before. The problem with Tottenham is because they're playing so deep, they've actually got to play out from the back and probably haven't really got the players, especially with the 3 centre-halves, to do that.
They haven't really got an outlet up front either, of course. They did make a late play for Odion Igalo in the final hours of the transfer window, but by that stage he was already on his way to Manchester United. Incredible that he became the most sought-after player on deadline day, the former Watford man. Here's Mahrez into the penalty area, trying to make some space for a shot. Hooked away in the end by Winks. And then Fernandinho again out-muscling Lucas Moura. It's not been much of a contest between those two so far. And really, when you consider that Fernandinho is a central midfielder playing at the back for Manchester City, Lucas Moura should be asking more questions, but he's absolutely coasting through the game so far, Fernandinho.
He looks like he's playing with his carpet slippers on at the minute, the way Tottenham are playing, and you'd have to say that's why the first goal's critical, because if Man City get it, Tottenham and these fans will expect them to open up a little bit, and that's where Man City will come into their own. So key that Tottenham get, by hook or by crook, get the first goal so they can keep this game plan up.
14 minutes of the half remaining. Spurs 0, Manchester City 0. Manchester City opposed much more attacking threat, but maybe, and in our views, definitely should be down to 10 men for that agricultural challenge from Raheem Sterling, only punished by a yellow card.
These are decisions that change games. It's as simple as that there, and that's why managers get upset. People go cantless, and why do they get frustrated? Because you just want the referee and the VAR assistant to do his job properly. He hasn't done his job properly. For me, he shouldn't get paid this week for that decision, because that is farcical to say that that's not a sending off.
The views of Steve Lomas. If you have a counter opinion, or if you agree with Steve, do let us know at TalkSport Live on Twitter. Lots of you getting in touch saying that it should have been a red card for Raheem Sterling. There was one tweet telling us to stop talking about VAR and focus on the football. We'd love to, but it has become the main talking point. Here is Gundogan, floats the ball out to the right hand side where Mahrez is lurking. Mahrez pulls it back to the edge of the area, and Walker. And here is Mahrez again. Shifts the ball onto his left foot, floats in the cross, but curled behind for a goal kick, much to the frustration of Aguero. It's interesting, when they're coming forward down the right-hand side, Tanganga is coming in almost to become a third centre-half, and that's putting the onus on Steven Bergwijn to pick up Mahrez.
Well, it's not just that, he's got to stay with the runner with Kyle Walker, who loves to get forward, and one of the chances earlier that Kevin De Bruyne had was from an overlap where Steven Bergwijn didn't track the Man City right back into the opposition half. So it's something I'd imagine Mourinho will, something he'll be saying to him on the sideline is, listen, we're sticking to a game plan, and yes, you're going to have very little chance to attack because you're going to have to do your defensive job.
12 and a half minutes to go until half time. Still no goals in North London. Plenty of 0-0 draws around the Premier League this weekend. Finished all square early today between Burnley and Arsenal. Stalemate also at Old Trafford as Manchester United were held by Wolves, and Newcastle Norwich serving up one of the most dire games of the season. This one has been much more entertaining than that. Lucas Moura, was he fouled by Walker? Yes, he was, and the referee's going to go to his pocket here. It's going to be a booking for Kyle Walker and a free kick for Tottenham within range.
Yeah, he had much option. Lucas Moura, a lovely little bit of skill, just dinks it over Kyle Walker, and he grabs him round the waist, and Mike Dean has no option but to give him the yellow card.
So booking for Walker, and Tottenham can put this free kick into the penalty area. Son over the ball. There are 4 white shirts in a line on the edge of the 18-yard box. So Celso showing a bit of interest in the free kick as well, in flashy yellow and black boots. Giovanni Lo Celso, of course, he made his move from Betis permanent over the course of the transfer window. Not a good free kick though. Cleared back to Lo Celso, who out of the corner of his eye just spotted Aurier in some space down the right. Aurier with a cross, decent looking ball, but over the head of everybody in white, and it will be cleared away by Riyad Mahrez. Mahrez checks back towards his own penalty area. He's worked tirelessly, Steven Bergwijn, on this left hand side. He put Manchester City under pressure there, but they've calmly played their way out from the back. Here's Gundogan forward to Zinchenko, just showed too much of that to the sliding Aurier. Clean challenge from Aurier, plays it forward to Lucas Moura. Here's Son now, right in the middle of the Manchester City half, but look at the number of black shirts that was swamping Son as he's on the ball, and he's forced back to Lo Celso. They've still got it, Tottenham. Winks out to the right, and Aurier.
And that's the problem when you play a centre half at left back. Son was looking for somebody to top out in terms of Tanganga to grade forward, but he doesn't want to do that. Obviously, probably under instructions from his manager to say, listen, just stay, don't go. And that was a great opportunity for Tottenham to hit on the counter-attack, but like you said, just lacking in bodies getting forward.
Spurs 0, Manchester City 0. 10 minutes to go in this first half. Tottenham have won only 4 of their last 19 Premier League meetings against Manchester City. They've been under the cosh for much of the half, but here they come on the attack with Bergwijn. Looks for Dele Alli in the centre, and that's a really important header from Kyle Walker, just glancing it away from his England teammate. Delightful play by Bergwijn, who I've been really impressed with on his first outing in a Tottenham shirt. Of course, he's taken on Christian Eriksen's number 23. Big boots to fill, but he looks lively, Steve.
Yeah, Tottenham's best move, a lovely little run by Bergwijn into the inside right channel. He tries to pick Dele Alli out at the far post, and Kyle Walker does well to get the header in.
Manchester City have got 4 against 5 here. Aguero into the feet of De Bruyne, into the penalty area. He's trying to go around Alderweireld when maybe he could have cut it back. He's pulled it back down to the edge of the box. Rodri forward to Mahrez. Aguero puts up a left arm. It might come for Gundogan. Gundogan pulls it back for Sterling. Shot blocked. And somehow Tottenham scramble it clear. Still not fully away though. And down goes Aguero. Well, referee Mike Dean says he got the ball. I think it was clumsy to say the least from Serge Aurier. And I'm not sure how much of the ball he did get. Steve Lomas.
Yeah, he's always prone to this here, Serge Aurier. He is clumsy. It did look another clumsy challenge, but Aguero's not making much of it. He's staying on the turf. Be interesting to see if that goes up to VAR.
The players continue. Maybe Raheem Sterling should have stuck the chance away that he had a few seconds earlier. The finish lacking conviction, maybe as a result of the fact that Raheem Sterling has gone 13 matches without scoring for Manchester City. That's the longest drought of his career at the Etihad.
And in between, I think Toby Alderweireld got the block onto it. Good defender from him.
Well, we still haven't had a VAR review because the ball still hasn't gone out of play. Pep Guardiola in consultation with the fourth official.
But surely if you're Man City, would you just not kick the ball out to see the challenge?
Well, they're coming forward here. Raheem Sterling headed behind, or at least out to this right-hand side by Sanchez. It's kept in play by Mahrez. This is Walker now, right corner of the 18-yard box. De Bruyne beginning to pull the strings for Manchester City. Here is Mahrez against Bergwijn on this near touchline. And then De Bruyne switches play out to the left-hand side in Zinchenko. Manchester City have kept the ball now for a good 80 seconds or so since that penalty appeal. Rodri, he slips and almost lets Lucas Moura in there before just about managing to shepherd it back for Otamendi, his teammate. Here's Fernandinho coming forward, spraying it forward to Raheem Sterling. Zinchenko made a run. Son goes down his backside. Sterling looking for Aguero. Tottenham get it clear, and maybe they can counter. Son trying to find Lucas Moura. Otamendi there, and ciphers it back to the goalkeeper. And the referee's going to blow here for a VAR review. My initial reaction was that Serge Aurier didn't get the ball, and the fact that he stopped play, he's going to give a penalty. And I think that's the right call from Mike Dean. Pep Guardiola points to the watch and says, why didn't you stop it earlier? But not for the first time in his Tottenham career. Serge Aurier dives in and concedes a needless penalty.
Yeah, and it's stupid because Aguero's going away from goal. He doesn't need to make the challenge. I'm just seeing it here. You're 100% correct. Clumsy, doesn't need to make the challenge. And like you said, this is just indicative of Serge Aurier's Tottenham career.
6 minutes to go until half time. It is a penalty for Manchester City given by VAR. Jose Mourinho giggling on the touchline. He will feel that his side have been on the wrong end of a couple of decisions. We feel in this case the VAR has got it right.
Yeah, it has. In isolation, what we've been speaking about is you can only merit what they see, but unfortunately he's seen this one correct, but in terms of Raheem Sterling, he's seen that wrong, and you can understand why he's got a wary smile on his face, Mourinho, and that'll be something he'll certainly be talking about after the game.
Ilkay Gundogan scored a penalty against Fulham in the FA Cup last weekend in front of a baying Tottenham mob. He has the chance to repeat the feat here. Gundogan saved by Hugo Lloris. And then Lloris, does he bring down Sterling? They might get another penalty here, Manchester City. Well, Mike Dean has pointed for a corner. Raheem Sterling is in the face of Hugo Lloris. They think he dived. Again, my initial reaction is that's probably a penalty.
It certainly looks like that, and this is the most bizarre. It's a great save initially from Lloris, but a poor penalty from Gundogan.
Oh, and it's all kicking off now. Hugo Lloris was right in the face of Raheem Sterling. Zinchenko has raced all the way forward from left back to get involved. There's pushing and shoving. Lloris still screaming at Raheem Sterling. Serge Aurier is getting involved.
And the other thing is, if he dives, does that mean it's a booking and he's off? Which he should have been off.
Well, there's
anyway.
a VAR review, and once again, I think this is a penalty. He's caught the legs of Raheem Sterling. It's a penalty. So what's Lloris complaining about, and is Mike Dean going to point to the spot?
I don't think it is. I think he's pulling his hands away, in my opinion.
Well, the VAR agrees with you.
Yeah.
Much to the delight of the Tottenham supporters, and Harry Winks goes over to congratulate Lloris for the penalty save. Well, he saved a penalty, didn't he, in that Champions League quarter-final?
But you can see
he's done it again here. But this is what the inconsistency does. Yeah, it makes the referee's job that much more difficult.
But it's about opinion. You think it's a penalty, I don't think it's a penalty.
And that's why VAR is a nonsense.
But the question is, and what Tottenham should be asking is, if that's not, is it not a dive from Raheem Sterling, or is it just a coming together, which I'd imagine this is what they're talking about now.
VAR can't award yellow cards. So therefore, even if they've told Mike Dean to dive, he can't show the booking. He's not allowed to.
But obviously now
Mourinho is furious.
It looks like maybe Lloris might be getting booked for his reaction after the thing. Here we go, he's just talking about it. Yeah, and it's really...
Well, the final decision is a goal kick. Yeah. So, are we saying that Raheem Sterling carried the ball out of play?
Yes, that's what they're saying. They're saying that it's not, he's pulling his arms away. I thought that was my initial thought, was Lloris is pulling his arms away. It's a coming together. Raheem Sterling's reacted to what he thinks is going to be him getting taken out and went down, tested his arm. Chanced his arm, sorry, but listen, it's really kicked in to action here.
Well, the referee is branching out all kinds of yellow cards. I think, well, quite rightly so in the case of Zinchenko. He's a young man, but he should not have got involved. Yeah, nothing to do with you. And that's the message that Mike Dean is relaying in no uncertain terms. I can't tell you where the other bookings have been because he was just waving the yellow card around willy-nilly, Mike Dean.
Well, it's certainly high drama, but one thing it can't be taken away is Lloris makes a great save.
It was a poor penalty, wasn't it?
It wasn't a great penalty, I've got to say. I'm not in favour of this short run-up.
Why didn't Sergio Aguero take the penalty?
This is what I don't understand. When you've got a goal scorer like that, Alex, for me, you always give him the ball, 100%.
Well, it's a big moment for Hugo Lloris. It could be a big moment in the match, but temper's really fraying here.
And I think the game's needed it, hasn't it? It was a bit tepid, a bit lukewarm.
Definitely not tepid anymore. Here's Son for Spurs, and maybe they might just be spurred on here. Son brought down by Rodri. It's going to be a free kick again in a dangerous position. Mike Dean is going to have to keep a lid on things here.
I think Son's bought that there. I didn't think Rodri did much. He was just trying to run back, and Son went down far too easily.
I think it was just one yellow card in all that to Zinchenko.
Well, he had it out for a long time, that yellow card. It looked like about 5 minutes he had it in his hands. But wouldn't this be classic Mourinho? Hold on, and then get against the run of play, get the lead and grind out another backs-to-the-wall victory.
Well, it's whipped the crowd up. You can hear that inside the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Confirmation Toby Alderweireld was also booked for his part in the melee. And here comes the Spurs free kick. Lo Celso clips it in left-footed, nodded back in towards the 6-yard box. Dele Alli keeps it in play, and here is Son. Been on the periphery of the game really, Son, but he's turned away there from Mahrez adroitly. He's going to try and pull back the cross here, and he's won a corner. All of a sudden Tottenham on the front foot really for the first time on the afternoon.
Yeah, and it goes to show you how crucial goalkeepers are. That save has definitely give Tottenham a lift.
Son will take the corner. Or when the Spurs go marching in, is the cry from the Tottenham faithful. Into the last minute of the 45, there will be considerable stoppage time at the end of this first half for all the VAR checks that have taken place. Manchester City get the ball clear. Pep Guardiola pointing out on the edge of the technical area, but they found Son. Spurs here down by the corner flag, and he's away from Rodri as he's carried it behind. It will be a goal kick, and Son looks up to the skies in frustration.
He just didn't make his mind up what way he wanted to go against Rodri. I thought he should have checked inside and tried to get into the box, but we're just looking at the penalty again. Gundogan, and does Lloris move early? That's the other question. So many talking points in the one penalty decision.
I think again VAR doesn't look at that, whether the goalkeeper is off his line or not. They look at encroaching from defenders and forward players, but not from the goalkeeper. That's how I understand it. Just to add to the confusion, here's Aguero charging towards the Tottenham penalty area. It's a really good challenge from Aurier, and here comes Spurs on the counter. We're into 4 added minutes at the end of the first half. Tottenham 0, Manchester City 0. Son dispossessed by Walker. He ran into a bit of a cul-de-sac in truth, and then De Bruyne pulls it back for Zinchenko, who clips it forward now for Gundogan, having missed that spot kick. Zinchenko in space to Sterling's left. He's being jeered by the Tottenham fans. Raheem Sterling.
One thing's for certain, that Tottenham are going to have to improve on in terms of keeping possession. They've given the ball away far too cheaply at times.
Mahrez back for Walker, 10 yards outside the Spurs penalty area. Fernandinho floats it into the box, finds Mahrez in space. Can he pick out a teammate in the centre? Stabbed clear by Davinson Sanchez, and then Son just volleys it over the halfway line. Anywhere will do for Tottenham at the end of what's been a first half packed with talking points, packed with controversy.
Yeah, and I think just Tanganga, somebody has to have a word with him. I know he's at the centre-half by trade, and he wants to get narrow and get protection alongside his other two centre-halves, but it's far too easy. Raheem Mahrez is just standing out wide, and City are just playing it out to him time and time again. He's got to get his distances between his left side centre-half and his attacking right-sider, because it's just too easy for Mahrez to pick up the ball and get in the box and run at him.
There's no doubt Manchester City have been the better team in this first half, but at the moment, no goals to show for their endeavours. Here is Mahrez. Mahrez running once again at Bergwijn. He's away from 2 Tottenham challengers. He's found De Bruyne, who tries to stand up the cross for Aguero. It's cleared only as far as Zinchenko. He might get a shot away. Here's Zinchenko, left-footed, always rising. It's gone into row 16 of the stand behind the goal. 0-0.
Poor decision from Zinchenko. He should have just laid it off, tried to spectacular curl it into the top corner. But I think Tottenham will be delighted. But the one thing's for certain, they're going to have to improve second half. They've rode their luck. Poor decisions from Ariel in terms of his tackle, but just keeping the ball. They haven't made more than 3 passes in the game, and that's why they're constantly defending.
We're into the last 90 seconds of added on time at the end of this first half. Spurs 0, Manchester City 0. City have won 11 of their last 12 visits to the capital. They will be scratching their heads as to how they're not in front. Penalty from Gundogan, save low down to his left by Hugo Lloris, and if they did get another spot kick, you wonder if Aguero would step up. Was it Aguero who missed the penalty in the Champions League quarter-final? I wonder if that played a part, possibly, against the same goalkeeper. Here's Mahrez, forward into the area. Sterling's going to try, can he back for Aguero? Oh, he has to score, and he's blazed into the side netting from 2 yards out. Maybe it is Tottenham's afternoon, because Sergio Aguero has just missed an absolute sitter.
Yeah, and it's not often we talk about Man City not being clinical, and the one man you want that chance to do it. It's a great run from Sterling, who cuts the ball back to the near post. It comes off Sanchez, who gets, I think it's Oriol, gets a block, and it's just there. He just has to dink it into the goal, and very unlike Aguero, just chips it into the side net, and really poor effort from a player of his quality.
Another let off for Spurs right at the end of the first half. Still 20 seconds of stoppage time to go, and Manchester City, as they have done for most of the 48 minutes today, are in possession on the halfway line with Fernandinho. Aguero in space, having just missed a gilt-edged opportunity. He's found Mahrez again. This is where most of City's attacks are coming from, down their right-hand side, but the cross is cleared, and the 4 added minutes are up.
I think that's one of the reasons why he's put Son on the left-hand side for his work rate, because Man City down the right-hand side are destroying Tottenham.
Well, the half-time whistle is blown. An embrace between Raheem Sterling and Hugo Lloris, the 2 players at the centre, are the 2 big talking points in this first half. First of all, should Raheem Sterling have been sent off? for a nasty looking challenge on Dele Alli. VAR checked it and said no. VAR did give a penalty for a clumsy challenge from Aurier on Sergio Aguero. Up stepped Gundogan, saved by Hugo Lloris, the Tottenham captain, their hero. But you do have to wonder how much longer can they hold out for against this barrage of Manchester City pressure. At the break though, at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, it is Spurs 0, Manchester City 0. You are listening to Premier League Live.
TalkSport. Download the TalkSport app now for online fun, fixture talk and lashings of live football. Football. Then stick it in your ear. Ouch. TalkSport. This is what real sport sounds like.
Hello, I'm Tom Rennie from TalkSport, and you've made the decision to listen to Premier League Live. I commend you on this decision. You're clearly a person who knows what's up and what's happening, as well as other phrases from 80s movies said by generic cool people in said movies. For example, Emilio Estevez. With that being said, why not try downloading TalkSport's football-related Game Day podcasts? Ahead of a Premier League weekend, usually on Thursday, Sam Matterface hosts the Game Day Premier League Preview Show podcast. On Saturday, we cut up the very best of our manager reaction and player interviews, bung in a few funny callers, and hey presto, you get the Your Verdict podcast. And on Monday morning, Danny Kelly is joined by the likes of Mark Webster, Mark Smith, Steve Lomas, David Connolly, and a host of other affordable names to look back at the footballing weekend, picking out the winners and losers in the Record Book podcast. Just search for Game Day podcast and they will appear. I'm in some of these shows too.
TalkSport. Don't be like Alan Brazil. Never miss a day's output with the new updated TalkSport app. Is that right, Alan?
I'm absolutely knackered.
Download the app at TalkSport.com. This is what real sport sounds like.
This Saturday is Game Day on TalkSport 2.
Your go-to destination for a full-service Premier League experience.
One day, so much football.
He shoots, he scores.
This Saturday is Game Day on TalkSport 2.
It is game on!
TalkSport. Download the TalkSport app now for online fun, fixture talk and lashings of live football. Football. Then stick it in your ear. Ouch. TalkSport. This is what real sport sounds like.
Saturday is Game Day on TalkSport and TalkSport 2.
It's big ticket live Premier League football you can't afford to miss.
Hi, I'm Matt Target from Aston Villa.
Hi, I'm Bournemouth centre-back Chris Mepham.
Hi, I'm Jan Vertongen. Listen to Game Day on TalkSport.
Game Day.
It's a brilliant goal.
This Saturday
on TalkSport and TalkSport 2. Official broadcast partner of the Premier League.
TalkSport. Get with the net, Grandad. Make space on your mobile for the TalkSport phone app, the channel-hopping, station-swapping gizmo that's taking the UK by storm. It's ear trumpet compatible. Download the TalkSport app now at TalkSport.com.
Welcome back to Premier League Live, an enthralling first half at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and once again VAR has taken centre stage. Sterling on the edge of the penalty area, tries to shift it from left foot to right, and he's clattered in the end into the challenge. And there's a Spurs player down, I think it's Dele Alli, and it's a yellow card for Raheem Sterling. Oh, that's a nasty challenge from Raheem Sterling. It's a VAR review for a potential red card, and I don't think there's much difference between this challenge from Raheem Sterling and the one that Aubameyang was sent off for Arsenal. That is a horrendous tackle from Raheem Sterling. I think this will be a red card.
I'm agreeing with you, Alex, and I think the situation is, one thing you hope is that
no red card is the decision. Well, where is the consistency? And Reece plays it out to the edge of the area, and again they've been caught here, Tottenham, and here's Aguero, chance to put Manchester City in front. Aguero off the post, and the rebound doesn't quite fall for Sterling.
And the most relieved man in this ground is Sanchez. It was an absolute terrible giveaway.
It might come for Gundogan. Gundogan pulls it back for Sterling, shot blocked, and somehow Tottenham scramble it clear. Still not fully away though, and down goes Aguero. Well, referee Mike Dean says he got the ball. I think it was clumsy to say the least from Serge Aurier. And the referee's going to blow here for a VAR review. my initial reaction was that Serge Aurier didn't get the ball, and the fact that he stopped play, he's going to give a penalty, and I think that's the right call. Ilkay Gundogan scored a penalty against Fulham in the FA Cup last weekend in front of a baying Tottenham mob. He has the chance to repeat the feat here. Gundogan saved by Hugo Lloris, and then Lloris, does he bring down Sterling? They might get another penalty here, Manchester City.
I don't think it is. I think he's pulling his hands away, in my opinion.
Well, the VAR agrees with you.
Yeah.
Much to the delight of the Tottenham supporters. There was a story of a dramatic first half here in North London. No goals, Steve Lomas, but no shortage of talking points, that is for sure.
Yeah, certainly one-way traffic. Man City dominated. Tottenham very lucky to not be at least two down, and obviously Serge Aurier, what is he thinking about when he makes that challenge for the penalty? Obviously Hugo Lloris bails his right back out and makes a great save. Then there was a call for a penalty off the save with Raheem Sterling. Raheem Sterling then really should be off the pitch because the tackle is a red card for me. So there's been a lot happening.
I've just got a text message from my TalkSport colleague Sam Matterface, who is nicknamed Dr. VAR. He's done all kinds of courses studying the new technology. He was a big advocate at the start of the season. He's not so much now. I asked him that Raheem Sterling tackle, discuss, and he's just texted me back. It's a red card, and then in capital letters, all day long. Points out the tackle was above the ankle. VAR checked it, only a yellow.
Well, this was said at the start. We keep going back. It is about opinion. All the same, it's not a foolproof way of getting the decision right. But I would like to know the referees who are making them decisions, come out and tell them why. Why did they not send them off? Tell me what the thought process is, so we can understand it better.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose, if nothing else, what Mourinho can do, and he's the master of it in the dressing room at half-time, is because Sterling stayed in the pitch, and because in his view they should have had a second penalty, Spurs, for the challenge from Lloris on Sterling when he went in for the rebound. I know you think the referee and the VAR got that one right. He can create a siege mentality, and he's the master of that.
He can create whatever he wants, but if Tottenham keep giving the ball away as cheaply as they're doing, and not giving any respite, it's only a matter of time. Man City cannot keep missing these chances. Serge Aguero, he's normally so deadly. He's had two great chances. Kevin De Bruyne as well, another great chance, and obviously the penalty from Gundogan, which was really poor. If they keep playing the way they're doing, I can only see one winner.
Yeah, I mean, what can Tottenham do then to alter the game plan? I mean, normally at this stage you would look at the options that are available on the subs bench. Of course, no Harry Kane. He's watching presumably from the stands. But I think he's at the Super Bowl, isn't he, this weekend? He's a big NFL fan. They've got Jedson, perhaps, who can come on, and Ndombele in midfield. Lamela maybe is an extra attacking threat. Sessegnon, but they're not blessed with options, are they? Dyer and Gazaniga are the other subs that Spurs have got at their disposal.
They're actually much the same as what they've got, but they've just got to be better. They've got to be braver in possession. If you're sitting deep and trying to play on the counter attack, you've got to be able to, the likes of Winks and Luxello, they've got to get on the ball in tight areas, but do they have that sort of quality? Look at Sanchez give the ball away and Man City nearly scored. Do they have the ball players at the back to be able to play out? And I'm looking at that back four of Tottenham's, and I'd have to say it hasn't.
Do they need to be braver?
They certainly do need to be braver. They've got to pass the ball. If you're sitting deep, if you've got no target man up front and you're sitting deep, you can't go route one into him. If they had a Giroud, and then they can go and play off them. They've got three smaller players who either want the ball over the top, or they've got to work it through midfield so they can find areas. And at the minute, Man City with their press, they know Man City's going to press them, so they've got to accept they've got to take the ball under pressure. But whether they've got them players to do that, I don't think they have.
I can imagine that Pep Guardiola will just be saying to his team, keep doing what you're doing, and the goals will come. Half-time then at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Spurs 0, Manchester City 0, but that really only tells half the story. You are listening to Premier League Live.
TalkSport. Download the TalkSport app now for online fun, fixture talk, and lashings of live football. Football. Then stick it in your ear. Ouch. Talk Sport. This is what real sport sounds like.
Hello, I'm Tom Rennie from Talk Sport, and you've made the decision to listen to Premier League Live. I commend you on this decision. You're clearly a person who knows what's up and what's happening, as well as other phrases from 80s movies said by generic cool people in said movies. For example, Emilio Estevez. With that being said, why not try downloading TalkSport's football-related Game Day podcasts? Ahead of a Premier League weekend, usually on Thursday, Sam Matterface hosts the Game Day Premier League Preview Show podcast. On Saturday, we cut up the very best of our manager reaction and player interviews, bung in a few funny callers, and hey presto, you get the Your Verdict podcast. And on Monday morning, Danny Kelly is joined by the likes of Mark Webster, Mark Smith, Steve Lomas, David Connolly, and a host of other affordable names to look back at the footballing weekend, picking out the winners and losers in the Record Book podcast. Just search for Game Day Podcast and they will appear. I'm in some of these shows too.
Talk Sport. Don't be like Alan Brazil. Never miss a day's output with the new updated Talk Sport app. Is that right, Alan?
I'm absolutely knackered.
Download the app at talksport.com. This is what real sport sounds like.
This Saturday is Game Day on TalkSport 2.
Your go-to destination for a full-service Premier League experience.
One day, so much football.
He shoots, he scores.
This Saturday is Game Day on TalkSport 2.
It is game on.
Talk Sport. Download the TalkSport app now for online fun, fixture talk, and lashings of live football. Football. Then stick it in your ear. Ouch. Talk Sport. This is what real sport sounds like.
Saturday is Game Day on TalkSport and TalkSport 2.
It's big ticket live Premier League football you can't afford to miss.
Hi, I'm Matt Target from Aston Villa.
Hi, I'm Bournemouth centre-back Chris Mepham.
Hi, I'm Jan Vertongen. Listen to Game Day on TalkSport.
Game Day.
It's a brilliant goal.
This Saturday
On TalkSport and TalkSport 2. Official broadcast partner of the Premier League.
Talk Sport. Get with the net, Grandad. Make space on your mobile for the TalkSport phone app, the channel-hopping, station-swapping gizmo that's taking the UK by storm. It's ear trumpet compatible. Download the TalkSport app now at talksport.com.
You are listening to TalkSport's coverage of Burnley against Arsenal from Turf Moor. Sorry, no you're not. You're listening to TalkSport's coverage of Tottenham against Manchester City from the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I'm your commentator, Alex Crook. Alongside me is the former West Ham and Northern Ireland midfielder, Steve Lomas. This is Premier League Live. So Tottenham 0, Manchester City 0 then at half-time. Sergio Aguero has covered plenty of space in and around the penalty area. Mr. Giltest chance, didn't he, right at the end of the first half, lashing into the side netting from 2 yards. Hugo Lloris has also saved a penalty from Ilkay Gundogan. I think it's fair to say Manchester City will be frustrated not to be in front. Jimmy, listening in Ghana, said I think Ederson should start taking penalties for Manchester City. Now, that's partly tongue-in-cheek, but as our producer has pointed out, he has gone on record, Guardiola, as saying that Ederson is Manchester City's best penalty taker. It doesn't say much for the rest.
Well, he looks like he certainly, with his quality and his technique, he can certainly play in midfield, so why can't he take the penalties?
What would have happened if Spurs had gotten a goal during the 3 minutes of play before the VAR review? #madness, says Michael. Well, that goal would have been ruled out and the penalty would have been given. Sally says VAR fix is in for City to win. Sterling is an embarrassment to the sport. Should have had a straight red and then a second yellow for diving. Shameful. John Peter makes a good point. No replays on big screens, as Liverpool and Man United don't have them, would be mandatory if Bournemouth and Watford didn't have them. Interesting point.
Yeah, it is, and it does. No matter they brought VAR in for fairness, you know, the big teams, you can't tell me that they don't favour the big teams. And you know, there is a question of if that would have been somebody else instead of Raheem Sterling, would it have been easier to give a red card? And the decision for me would be yes, it would be.
Well, the two sets of players are back out on the pitch in front of us. Certainly no change of personnel as far as Manchester City are concerned. Kevin De Bruyne back out there. He was a real handful during that opening 45 minutes, largely dominated by the visitors. Spurs also, it seems, unchanged. They will be getting us off and underway in this second 45 in the white shirts, navy shorts, white socks, shooting from left to right in this second half, with Hugo Lloris in goal, Aurier, Alderweireld was booked, Sanchez and Tanganga in defence, Winks and Lo Celso deep in midfield, Son, Dele Alli and Bergwijn behind Lucas Moura up front. Manchester City all in black, shooting from right to left, with Ederson in goal, Walker, Fernandinho, Otamendi and Zinchenko. Then come Gundogan, who missed the penalty, and Rodri, Mahrez, De Bruyne and Sterling behind Sergio Aguero up front. In terms of the substitutes, we've already listed the Tottenham bench as Ederson clears under pressure from Bergwijn, Claudio Bravo, Cancelo, Foden, Jesus, who might fancy his chances of getting on, Bernardo, David Silva and Eric Garcia are the options that Pep Guardiola has available.
And I was just wondering whether Pep would have maybe thought about taking Raheem Sterling off, because you can't tell me that the referee hasn't got a visual of that there.
Yeah, decent point.
And any sort of touch in this second half, Mike Dean probably would be more than happy to give him a yellow card and bring him off. But yeah, it's an interesting point, whether Pep thought that, but he's got faith in Raheem Sterling and is desperate to get himself goal scoring again.
Yeah, it would be his first goal in 14 outings, Raheem Sterling, who's been jeered, as you can probably hear, every time he's on the ball. We've played just about 82 seconds of this second half. Manchester City have it over on their right hand side with Riyad Mahrez. Here is Walker, Rodri, side puts it back out to Riyad Mahrez, who's enjoyed plenty of freedom down the Tottenham left hand side. And now Fernandinho just inside Spurs territory. Aguero coming deep, having that lone furrow in attack, Sergio Aguero. Rodri tries to play it out to Mahrez, but he overhit the pass, and it will be a Tottenham throw. I guess the longer it goes on, the more Tottenham will fancy their chances on the counter-attack.
Well, I think just frustration comes in. You see Pep up there, frustrated with Rodri's pass. He knows they should be at least 2 up, and the game probably should be over. And I think what's key for Man City is if they do get the first goal, then Tottenham have got to open up, and there'll be more space for them to exploit.
Here is Fernandinho marauding forward from centre-back, the Brazilian. Walker shifts it infield for Rodri. Tottenham with everybody back behind the ball. Rodri out to the left-hand side where Zinchenko plucks it neatly from the London sky. Here now is Ilkay Gundogan. Rodri takes over, but he showed far too much of that to Serge Aurier. Son coming forward. Look at Aurier in space to his right. Son's come the other way. He's made a good run to the penalty area. Could be a chance here for Bergwijn. Might fall for Dele Alli. Fernandinho heads it away. Should Son have played in Aurier down the right, Steve?
Well, it was a great run, and unfortunately when you're running that far with the ball, it's very hard to get your head up. But Serge Aurier was powering forward.
Here come Manchester City at the other end though. Mahrez through to Sterling. Oh, good defending, but then a mistake between Hugo Lloris and his defender. Aguero hits it, goal was cleared off the line. Gundogan over the bar from 6 yards. How are Manchester City not in front? A comedy of errors as far as Spurs are concerned, but they missed chance after chance in the derby in midweek, and they haven't got their shooting boots on seemingly this afternoon either.
Yeah, and it's Man City on the counter-attack from Tottenham's space to exploit. It's Raheem Sterling. There's a collision between Tanganga and Lloris, and I think it's Alderweireld who makes the clearance, and then it finally breaks to Gundogan with a goal at his mercy, and it looks like he just doesn't get over the ball. He's stretching and lifts the ball over the bar. But Tottenham were like the Keystone Cops at the back.
It was incredible, wasn't it?
Yeah, and he's just on the stretch, to be fair to Gundogan, but you'd think somebody of his quality should do better. And it's another let-off for Tottenham. How many times have we said that, Alex, since the start of the game? You just cannot believe how Man City are not at least 3-0 up.
Otamendi out to the right-hand side, and Riyad Mahrez. Walker offering support. A lung-busting burst from the back from Walker, but he tried to cut the cross back. Harry Winks slides in and diverts it out for a throw. You feel it's a matter of time before Manchester City score, but Pep Guardiola has the look of a man with the weight of the world on his shoulders. They are the leading goal scorers in the Premier League. Going into the weekend, Manchester City outscoring even the juggernaut that Liverpool have become, but unable at the moment to find a way past this stubborn Tottenham rearguard, but more for their own wastefulness than anything Tottenham are doing defensively. Here is Raheem Sterling up against Serge Aurier. Infield they come again, Manchester City. Walker to Fernandinho on the edge of the centre circle. Aguero trying to turn away from Davinson Sanchez, but he's quickly closed down by Bergwijn. One back though by Rodri. He chips it out to the right hand side, and De Bruyne, first time ball into the area. Not sure what Davinson Sanchez was doing defensively. In the end they get it away. Not the most convincing piece of play from Davinson Sanchez, falling backwards facing his own goal as he cleared it over his head, and then the cross from De Bruyne into the gloves of the grateful Hugo Lloris. It's all Manchester City.
Yeah, but the longer this goes on, the more frustrated they will get. But you just can't see Tottenham scoring at the minute. They've got nothing going forward. Constantly again giving the ball away. No threat up front, no targets, and very poor at the back in terms of giving their service to the midfielders.
Tottenham 0, Manchester City 0. Here comes Mahrez, looking for Walker in the penalty area. Walker has dragged Sanchez out of position, up against Tanganga as well. In the end, has to settle for a throw down by the right corner flag. Kevin Friend, by the way, is the VAR over at Stockley Park near Heathrow Airport.
Well, he certainly was Raheem Sterling's friend, and I would really love, he's a very experienced referee, to come out and tell us all the reasons why he didn't see that as a red card. So educate us. If that's not a red card, tell us why.
Absolutely. Here is Fernandinho right in the centre of the Tottenham half. Manchester City continuing to dominate the ball. Must be a difficult watch for the Tottenham fans inside this stadium.
But while it's 0-0, they'll accept it. As soon as Man City score, and you can say it's only got to be a matter of time. They can't keep wasting these chances that they're producing. They've missed 4 gilt-edged chances.
Gabriel Jesus warming up. He's been among the goals this season, the Brazilian, and putting genuine pressure on Sergio Aguero for that coveted central striker role. And there's an example that you can have 2 quality strikers vying for the position, and Gabriel Jesus has had to be patient, has had to play back up to Sergio Aguero at times. Tottenham too reliant on Harry Kane, and when he isn't in the team, this is what happens. They really have to become a very defence-minded side.
You just have to look at recruitment, and for me, you keep replacing players with the quality of Dembele and Eriksen with what they've got, and they're not up to the job, and you're going to go backwards as a team.
I think Pochettino knew that. That's why he was so frustrated in the summer, and he made those comments about the fact he'd become merely a head coach. Doesn't buy the players, just coaches them. Corner for Manchester City here, who are continuing to pile on pressure at the start of the second half. 54 played, Tottenham 0, Manchester City 0. Corner will be taken by De Bruyne. Rodri, a glancing header at the near post, but high over the crossbar.
Yeah, he would have done well, Rodri. Good run to the near post, but he was well past it. Wasn't a great cross from Kevin De Bruyne, too low, and it would have been some finish to get that on target from City's defensive midfielder.
I guess the question would be, if they do bring on Gabriel Jesus, will they bring him on for Aguero, or maybe be a bit more ambitious, Pep Guardiola, and play them both together in attack? Tottenham offering very little threat so far in this second half, but here's Lucas Moura on the halfway line. Aurier's made a good run. Fernandinho comes across and just whips the ball away from Serge Aurier, seemingly without breaking a sweat. Fernandinho.
But again, it's poor quality from Lucas Moura. He had an easy pass on to Serge Aurier.
Made their way into trouble here, though. Lucas Moura into Dele Alli. Son wants the ball played to the far post. Dele Alli was offside, and it will be a free kick. But that will give Tottenham encouragement. Yeah, I think their best form of defence is attack.
Yeah, but again, Lucas Moura's got to play it earlier to Dele Alli. He's got a gilt-edged opportunity. Man City overplay it, and if he slips it early, he takes another touch and allows Man City to regroup, and Dele Alli just unfortunately drifts offside just by a yard. But again, it's got to be better from Lucas Moura. Better quality. It's an easy pass. He's just got to play it earlier.
10 minutes played since half-time. Still no goals at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Manchester City have scored in every away game they've played since that 1-0 Champions League quarter-final defeat against Tottenham last season. That was back in April of 2019. Can they add to that tally here this afternoon? Mahrez tries to get the cross in. Well blocked by Tanganga. And here now is Rodri coming towards the penalty area. Floats it forward for Raheem Sterling. Cue the chorus of boos once again for the England man. He's had the ball nicked away there by Serge Aurier. It's okay going forward, Aurier. But only Trent Alexander-Arnold has set up more goals for a defender in the Premier League this season, but not the strongest of right backs defensively, I think it's fair to say.
It's fair to say Kieran Trippier didn't have a great last season by his own standards, but for me, you know, there's a difference in quality. Serge Aurier or Kieran Trippier, for me, it's Kieran Trippier all day long. And like I say, if you keep bringing in inferior players to the one you got, there's no doubt you go back as a team. And I think if you asked any Tottenham fan, you know, that has been the case. Not enough signings, and the ones they brought in.
Near him, luckily for a Manchester City perspective, that is. And here now is Kevin De Bruyne. Floated into the...
After the penalty, when, you know, Hugo Lloris wasn't happy, whether that's affected him and whether that might be the change that Pep looks to do with Lloris coming on.
Here is Mahrez, 2 yards in from the far touchline. De Bruyne back towards halfway, where Mahrez picks it up once more. Fernandinho high up the field into Aguero. De Bruyne. Mahrez has made a good run. Mahrez trying to cut it back. Oh, he's behind Gundogan. And Harry Winks can clear. Better pass than Gundogan would have had the simple task of sweeping the ball beyond Hugo Lloris for 1-0.
In that was a lovely little pass from Kevin De Bruyne. All his passes don't need to be 40 yards. It was only 5 yards, but it was the timing of it.
Here's Harry Winks driving forward for Tottenham. Son got some space on the edge of the area. Dele Alli's got plenty of space in the box. Son's pass was heavy, and that's going to allow Kyle Walker to get it away for Manchester City. He was in there, Dele Alli.
He was, but to be fair to Son, he had to play it with pace. Good covering around from Kyle Walker as well. Made the pass even harder. But better from Tottenham. At least they're getting forward and getting some bodies to try and create something.
58 gone. Spurs 0, Manchester City 0. You're listening to Premier League Live. Manchester City have already dropped 21 points this season. To put that into some kind of perspective, they only dropped 16 the whole of the last campaign, 14 the season before that.
And we're just looking at Dele Alli. I think that ankle might have just tightened up.
Yeah, he went down after the challenge was made by Walker.
And that's what happens when you're running, Alex, and you know, when you first get an injury you can normally run it off, but the 15 minutes at half time it's probably stiffened up, maybe put a little bit of ice on it, which made it even worse. And I wouldn't be surprised if Dele Alli succumbs to that tackle from Raheem Sterling in the first half.
It's going to be fascinating to hear Mourinho's views on that. Should he allow himself to be drawn into it, because of course managers do run the risk of a fine if they speak out of turn, which I always find slightly unsavoury if they've got a genuine disgruntlement with the referee. I think he certainly has on this occasion.
100%.
Gundogan forward to Zinchenko. Gabriel Jesus is about to come on for Manchester City. It'll be really interesting to see who he comes on for. Aguero not really been in the game in the second half. Here is Mahrez, but he's in the centre here looking for the cross. Turned behind by Davinson Sanchez. And it's going to be a third Manchester City corner, second of the second half. And Pep Guardiola just giving Gabriel Jesus his final instructions. I mean, presumably if he's going to come on for Aguero, he doesn't need to instruct him too much, just go and play up front. Maybe he might come on in one of the wide areas. Maybe for Mahrez, perhaps, who's going to take this corner. That is his last contribution. It's a pretty atrocious one, because he's passed it straight to Harry Winks, who's been kiboshed there by Zinchenko. And Zinchenko here is going to be sent off. Manchester City are down to 10 men. Sterling having escaped a red card in the first half, but Zinchenko with a cynical challenge there to stop the run has been shown a second booking. And I tell you what, It's not this challenge that he should be ashamed of, because he was taking one for the team, but it's when he needlessly got himself involved in that melee after the penalty had been saved, Zinchenko, and it's cost him, and it might just cost his team.
Yeah, 100%. Great driving run from Harry Winks. There's a appalling corner from Riyad Mahrez. Tried to play at the edge of the box. Harry Winks read it and drove forward, and Zinchenko didn't want to stay. That for me is poor defending. He just didn't want to run back with Harry Winks. Well, let's be right, isn't the quickest player in the world.
Agreed.
Just stay on your feet and run back. He's still 50 yards away from the goal. It's just, listen, like you said, Alex, inexperience and stupidity for the first yellow card, and for me it's same again for the second one.
61 minutes gone as Zinchenko slowly trudges off the walk of shame. As far as he is concerned, the young Ukrainian, Manchester City were ready a change. Pep Guardiola might just be having a rethink now, and Zinchenko walked straight past his manager and straight down the Tottenham tunnel.
I'd imagine Cancelo will probably come on. I'd imagine that change will change it. Jesus will have to sit down. And you just wonder, after all this pressure, we wonder what it would be Tottenham's night, and things seem to be happening. Man City should be the game should be out of sight, if we're being honest.
Here's Lo Celso. They'll fancy their chances now, though, against the 10 men. That looked like handball by Bergwijn. Referee allows play to continue, and Walker clears it against the Dutchman, and then it's knocked out for a Spurs throw. These home supporters warming to the task now. They believe that their side have got a real chance, and as you correctly predicted, Gabriel Jesus has been told to put the tracksuit back on for Manchester City, and Cancelo will be on. It's a corner actually for Tottenham. It's taken short by Son to Tanganga. Winks' cross looking for Alderweireld, side-footed away by Walker, chipped back in by Mora, and there's the goal. It's a debut goal for Steven Bergwijn. Welcome to the Premier League. What a moment for the rapid Dutchman. What a moment for Jose Mourinho, who strikes the first blow in the battle of these managerial enemies. It's a wonderful finish, a thumping finish into the corner, and it's Tottenham 1, Manchester City 0.
Yeah, and what a way to introduce yourself to this Tottenham crowd. Had worked very hard, Steven Bergwijn, with not much service up front, but this here is a fantastic finish. Great move. It's cleared by City. It's a little clip in from Lucas Moura. He takes on his chest and sweeps it in with a right foot volley, low and hard past Edison. Unbelievable finish under heavy pressure from Fernandinho. Exquisite finish from Steven Bergwijn. He's got that in the locker. Great technique and an absolute great moment for him on his debut.
Well, that's what they paid the £25 million for. Steven Bergwijn straight into the Tottenham team, straight into the Tottenham Hall of Fame as far as these supporters are concerned. And Pep Guardiola is in a world of trouble now. Minutes after City were reduced to 10 men, Steven Bergwijn has given Tottenham the lead, and Sergio Aguero has been hooked off.
Yeah, he doesn't look too happy. It just hasn't happened for Sergio Aguero today.
Is it Cancelo who's come on?
Yeah, Cancelo's come in, just slotted in at left back.
Well. You said, Steve Lomas, that it might just be Tottenham's afternoon. It's looking more and more likely now. Just trying to look at this reshuffle. I think Raheem Sterling is going to go and play through the middle, and Cancelo obviously filling in that vacant left back spot by the dismissal of Zinchenko. What a moment for Steven Bergwijn. That's what you dream about, isn't it, as a footballer on your debut?
Especially, you just want to endear yourself. You want to make a telling contribution, but if that's going to be the winning goal, what's a winning goal that was? Out of nothing. Great technique that he showed, taking it on the chest and volleying it in low. Decent skill. But City have got nothing but themselves to blame. Not clinical enough. Created the chances. Just thought they could continue to squander the chances.
Here's Mahrez looking for a quick fire response, but Lo Celso picks it up for Tottenham and drives towards the halfway line. One back by Kyle Walker. And that's a nasty challenge from Lascelles. So Walker, I think, has made a meal of it. It's going to be a yellow card. A bit theatrical, really, the reaction from Kyle Walker, but definite booking for Giovanni Lascelles. So,
yeah, try to run Kyle Walker down the outside. He ain't going to do that. And obviously, then has to chase back, and frustration gets the better. And Lascelles so makes the tackle. Probably doesn't need to do it, but it's an easy booking.
Fascinating final 25 minutes here. Tottenham 1, 10-man Manchester City 0. Tottenham who threw away 12 points from winning positions under Mauricio Pochettino this season. They haven't squandered a single point when they've been ahead under Jose Mourinho. He is the master, isn't he, at seeing out victories. It's been the trademark of his managerial career.
Yeah, and you're saying, if Tottenham do go and win this year, this will be validation for Mourinho to his players. Listen, if we be tight, stick together, it might not be pretty at times, but it gets results. But on the other hand, you can't look beyond Man City, the chances they've had. This game, like I said, should really been well and truly out of sight.
Ndombele is being readied by Jose Mourinho, just tried a bit of steal to midfield. Alexander Zinchenko, by the way, only the second Ukrainian player in Premier League history to be sent off. Can you name the other? Tell you what, full marks if you could.
Did he play for Tottenham up front?
Played for Arsenal. Defender.
Oli Luznik.
Yeah, very good, Steve Lomas. That was for Arsenal against Blackburn back in 2002.
And you just wonder, will Ndombele come in for Cancelo? With him having the book, and Mourinho will be thinking that maybe Mike Dean might want to even this game up.
And that missed penalty from Gundogan in the first half looks more and more costly. Gundogan finding De Bruyne, switches it out to Riyad Mahrez. Even with 10 men, Manchester City still posing a threat here. Celso comes across and shuts the door on Mahrez, and then it's chipped forward for Bergwijn, the goal scorer, to chase. He is quick, but he's not that quick. And Kyle Walker plays it back, and he pulled up there. Yeah, Bergwijn
looks like he might have done a right calf there. Yeah, you can see that there.
And he signalled to the bench immediately.
That's a blow.
It's a massive blow, isn't it?
Because it's not an injury you can run off the calf muscle. Let's hope it's only a little tweak and he's done the right thing and pull up. Yeah, it's definitely the right calf. Let's hope it's maybe only cramp and not a strain.
He's down his haunches. The Dutchman. Manchester City aren't going to put the ball out though. They're not obliged to. Here is De Bruyne inside the penalty area. De Bruyne across the face of goal and turned behind by Sanchez for a corner. They don't have another Premier League game, Tottenham, until February the 16th when they go to Aston Villa. There is an FA Cup replay here against Southampton on Wednesday night that maybe Bergwijn wouldn't have played in anyway. He's just having his right leg stretched out by Ederson, the Manchester City goalkeeper. It might be a bit of cramp.
Yeah, just looking at the picture of the goal again, does very well. It comes at him quick, he just cushions it with his chest and just swivels with the right foot and volleys it low past Ederson.
It's a stunning finish, isn't it?
It's great technique, it really is. Fantastic technique.
Maybe instant hero for Tottenham, and he pats the cockerel on his white shirt, but he's hobbling off here to a warm ovation. And I guess that possibly Ndombele, who was being ready, will just come on to replace the goal scorer. And in fact, Eric Lamela is also jogging in front of the tunnel, and he also will be introduced for Dele Alli. So a double change for Jose Mourinho.
Yeah, I just think that was from the earlier knock that Dele Alli took on his ankle. It's obviously seized up, and obviously Lamela can come on and fit in that left-hand side for Tottenham. And Dele will add a little bit more steel in the Tottenham midfield.
He hasn't played in the Premier League, Tanguy Ndombele, since New Year's Day when he hobbled off at Southampton. Mourinho was quite critical of his fitness after that, but here he is, trusted to try and get Tottenham over the winning line in these last 20 minutes. Manchester City will continue to probe for an equaliser, and that might just leave them exposed on the counter-attack. As I mentioned already, April 2019, the last time Manchester City failed to find the net on their travels. That was also against Tottenham in the Champions League. It's been a great game, isn't it? Full of talking points.
Yeah, and with that extra man, maybe Tottenham can now make a few passes.
Son trying to play it forward to Eric Lamela, guided away by Otamendi. Remember, Manchester City don't have a recognised striker out there. Aguero haven't been taken off. He missed a really good chance at the end of the first half, the Argentine. Doesn't miss many, nor does Son. He's in the penalty area, and he's doubled the lead for Tottenham. And any lingering hopes that Manchester City had of mounting any kind of title challenge are evaporating here in North London. Jose Mourinho is on the pitch to celebrate. Son has made it Tottenham 2, Manchester City 0.
And we spoke about it, Mourinho, the master, backs against the wall, and the game's totally turned on his head. And it's another great finish from Son. Lovely little pass into him, just spins on it. Lovely little Nimbelli, I think it is, just plays it on. He is onside. I think it's Fernandinho playing him on, and it's coolness personified. Gives Ederson the eyes, looks to whip it to the far post. It's actually a deflection off Fernandinho. He comes, he's trying to bend it into the far post, and Fernandinho's trying to get a block on it and diverts it low past Ederson into the near post. But he don't care about the deflection, and that for me is a total turnaround. We didn't see this coming, did we, Alex?
We certainly didn't. What a second half for Tottenham Hotspur. Son whipping up the home supporters. And forget what it means for Manchester City. They're giving up the title long ago. Tottenham are going to be within 4 points of the top 4, and Chelsea are stuttering and spluttering. This could just be a pivotal afternoon for Jose Mourinho as Gabriel Jesus comes on in place of Riyad Mahrez. What are we thinking, Steve Lomas? This has been incredible since half-time.
There has been talk up around Manchester that there could be a pretty much a clear-out at the end of the season at Man City, and you'd have to look at it.
Would that include the manager, by the way, because this has been a feeble defence of their title? And if they go out in the Champions League, pressure's really got to be on Pep Guardiola, hasn't it?
I don't think so. I think, listen, it'll be up to him whether he stays or goes, whether he's got the fight for it. But I do think they need to make some changes. You look at the likes of Stones, Mendy, David Silva's coming towards the end. You know, there has to be... It's hard to say when you look at the quality that Man City have got, but there maybe needs major surgery, and that's all down to how Liverpool are coming on.
Here is Son. Suddenly, confidence oozing all around these Tottenham players. And Ndombele hurdles a couple of challenges. Then he's brought down by Sterling, was it? It's going to be a free kick. The referee isn't going to go to his pocket. Reduce Manchester City to 9. A smug expression on the face of Jose Mourinho, because this just isn't any other win. This is a win over Pep Guardiola. A rivalry that goes back a decade. He will be loving this, Jose Mourinho. These Tottenham fans are loving it all around the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Yeah. Liverpool fans will be loving it.
But they'll not be stupid enough to realise they've rode the luck today. You know, Man City wouldn't normally, miss so many chances. You look at the penalty, but, it's been a really decent game. But you're looking at Tottenham, the work in progress. To be fair to them, they've hung in there and they've earned the right to get this result. I think that's what the Tottenham fans will be happy about.
And they've got a new hero, a new star in Steven Bergwijn. His goal in the 63rd minute set Spurs on their way. 8 minutes later, Son on his 150th Premier League appearance, doubling the advantage. And even with all this attacking talent on display for Manchester City with the 10 men, surely there is no hope that they're going to get back into the game. And that's a good challenge by Tanganga to dispossess Sterling. Walker keeps it in play. Here is Gabriel Jesus away from Davinson Sanchez, and then Sanchez stretches out those telescopic legs and wins it back, and he's fouled by Gabriel Jesus, who is telling Davinson Sanchez in no uncertain terms to get back to his feet. But it is a free kick for Spurs right on the edge of the penalty area.
Yeah, and that's just clear frustration from Jesus. Tries to muscle Sanchez. There was only one winner there, and obviously saying to him to get up, get on with it.
15 minutes remaining. Tottenham, who coming into this game, had the fewest points after 24 games than in any season since 2008-2009, the one-day Ramos years, as they're not very affectionately known in these parts. They've come a long way since then.
Yeah, and I think the club is well run, but I think the frustration for the supporters is they want to be more active in the transfer market.
Well, they made one big money signing.
Yeah, but it's like you say, you buy quality, you get that. That's what you pay the money for. The 28 million. They're moments where you need composure, you need technique. Steven Bergwijn has provided that, and he'll get better as well as he gets fitter and gets used to the Premier League.
Here's Gundogan driving Manchester City forward. De Bruyne around the corner, tripped by Alderweireld. It will be a free kick. Alderweireld praying there that he's not going to get a second yellow card from Mike Dean. Also trying to claim he got the ball.
I think it was clever from Kevin De Bruyne. He read the situation, he played it round the corner, and just seen Alderweireld coming in and bought the free kick. Man City needs something now.
De Bruyne to take the free kick. They did get one back. Manchester City would set us up for a grandstand finish here in North London. De Bruyne into the area, not much pace on the ball in. It's cleared out his first foot. Fernandinho volleys it goalwards, and it's behind off a Tottenham player for a corner.
I would have set up a grandstand finish. Fernandinho, not renowned for his goal-scoring ability.
It's his 300th Manchester City appearance, Fernandinho. In a moment, it's going to be a losing one. In comes the corner, cleared away by Toby Alderweireld. They don't keep many clean sheets, Tottenham. Certainly haven't done under Jose Mourinho. They've only won one of their last 5 in the Premier League. That was an unconvincing performance here against Norwich through the last midweek round of matches. This feels like the most significant result of Jose Mourinho's tenure.
Yeah, so far, like I said, he's got all the players working for him. Set up a game plan. Alright, they've rid their luck through City not being clinical enough, but that being said, they've stuck to it. They've stuck to what the manager wants to do with very little possession and 2 moments of quality when they did get the chances. Unlike Man City, they took them.
Sterling out to the right hand side, and Rodri. Leicester City fans will be enjoying this as well as they bid to close in on Manchester City in the race for second place, as it's become. Liverpool so dominant, so far ahead.
Just at the minute, Man City look like they've run out of ideas.
Gundogan trying to pick his way through. Jesus to Sterling, over the top for De Bruyne, a flying header back by Aurier and plucked from the sky by Lloris.
Yeah, it was unconventional from Aurier, but it was effective. Like I said, he's had his critics, he's rash at times, he's good going forward like you said, Alex, but just has moments of madness when he doesn't need to, just needs a calm head when he's defending, and sometimes he loses that.
Oh, that's a lovely ball forward, looking for Son. Ederson comes all the way out of his penalty area and then didn't want to use his right foot, hooks it clear left-footed. It was a bit unconventional from the Brazilian, but did the job. Here's Otamendi inside the centre circle. Surely Manchester City are going to get one goal. They always score.
You just had a feeling, a little nagging feeling that, you know, the amount of chances they did miss, was it going to be Tottenham's day? And it's proved to be the case. Walker
tries to guide it forward to the edge of the penalty area, hoisted away by Alderweireld, who's had an excellent game in the heart of the Spurs defence. Fernandinho back to Ederson, who again plucks it down left-footed in the pink boots. Not convinced the goalkeeper should be wearing pink footwear, to be honest with you. Here is Gundogan now on the edge of the centre circle for Manchester City. 79 minutes play, 2-0 Spurs lead. You're listening to Premier League Live. Spurs have conceded 23 goals in Jose's 17 games in charge. Are they going to concede one here? Cancelo into the area, tries to put it back for De Bruyne. Son facing his own goal, pats it back to be cleared by Sanchez, and then Ndombele fouled by Rodri. Free kick Tottenham.
And again, it's another great move for Man City down Tottenham's right hand side, and Cancelo gets away, and the ball cut back to Kevin De Bruyne is just agonisingly overhit, and he's got to take a little bit more care, just tee him up so Kevin De Bruyne can run on and strike it first time. But Man City have had so many types of these opportunities, not just the shots and chances they've missed, but opportunities to lay people in, and they haven't done that well enough today, and it's really surprising considering the quality that they've got.
Lamela heads it down for Aurier. Lucas Moura, and on the periphery really, Lucas Moura, but he's going to be on the winning team at the moment. Tanganga forward to Son, who's in space on the left hand side, still full of running, the Korean. Lamela in the centre, And Ndombele joining this Tottenham attack. Here comes Tanganga. Lo Celso forward. And Ndombele had to stretch and can only divert that into the path of Kyle Walker. And here's Sterling running at the top of the defence. De Bruyne tries to guide it forward to Jesus. Cleared by Davinson Sanchez. It was a hopeful ball by De Bruyne that was never really going to come off. And here now is Eric Lamela for Spurs on the edge of the centre circle. There's a calmness, a measured approach about the way Tottenham are playing here at the moment. As I say that, Lucas Moura is upended by Cancelo, is he? Or is it going to go Manchester City's way? I think it's a City free kick, actually. And Raheem Sterling is hobbling, Steve.
Yeah.
He's hobbling off, is he?
It looks like a hamstring. He's feeling the back of his hamstring there.
Pep Guardiola has summoned one of his subs back. It's all getting a bit desperate for Manchester City.
I think Bernardo Silva will be the one that comes on. He won't take a risk for Raheem Sterling, certainly if he's tweaked the hamstring. It just hasn't been his night. Now, I do think he was affected by that challenge on Dele Alli, and now both men are probably off injured.
Yeah, that was really the incident that set us up for what was to come. It's been an evening full of subplots. Here is Giovanni Lo Celso. It's going to be a triumphant evening for Tottenham unless Manchester City can produce a miracle escape in the final 8 minutes here. Kyle Walker nipping in ahead of Son. Drives towards the halfway line. Away from Tanganga. Raheem Sterling can barely move in the centre, so only De Bruyne really to aim at. Here is Walker. Gundogan's in some space. Sterling has now made a run into the box, but won't be able to stretch for any balls that come his way. Here is Cancelo for Manchester City back towards the halfway line. Gabriel Jesus taking over. Cancelo's made a run on the overlap. Jesus finds him belatedly. De Bruyne in the penalty area, across the face of goal. He was looking for Sterling, but he's too close to Lloris, who just collapses on top of the ball.
Yeah, Kevin De Bruyne was just looking for a run to the near post, but obviously Raheem Sterling with his hamstring injury just couldn't make that run, and that's his evening over.
Well, the goal drought is going to go on for Raheem Sterling. 14 matches since he last found the back of the net now.
And to be fair, he's not looked like scoring tonight.
He's just being helped off there by Kevin De Bruyne so that Manchester City can make their change. It will be Bernardo Silva. The shaven-headed Eric Dyer is about to come on as well for Lucas Moura. Another shut-up shop change from Jose Mourinho.
Yeah, it's been hard going for Lucas Moura. He's done a job for the team tonight, and it's his little dink ball in to Steven Bergwijn that set up the first goal.
Just confirmation, Bernardo Silva has come on for the stricken Sterling. Manchester City's next game in the Premier League is at home to West Ham United.
Imagine if you're David Moyes, you're hoping for a few more injuries before the end of the 90 minutes.
Big game for West Ham, arguably bigger for them now than it is for Manchester City. There's a collision between Ndombele and Fernandinho coming together, according to Mike Dean. So no free kick, but Ndombele felt the force of it. He's down holding his face. Is it a time-wasting tactic?
Well, I just think it's like Mike Dean said, come together, two players, Ndombele into Fernandinho. Maybe it was clever from Fernandinho, the old fox, realised he didn't want a foot race from the younger man and just checked him. Could quite easily on another occasion been a yellow card. Yeah, I just think experience over youth there, Alex.
6 minutes plus stoppage time remaining. Tanguy and Ndombele receiving treatment. A puff of the cheeks from Fernandinho, the Manchester City captain. It's going to be their first defeat since the turn of the year in the Premier League. They have won 6 of their last 8 coming into this, Manchester City, but well, really since the moment that Zinchenko was sent off, they faced an uphill task, made all the more so by the emphatic finish from Steven Bergwijn on debut, and then Son doubling Tottenham's lead 8 minutes later.
If you're being ultra critical, listen, he is a defensive midfielder playing centre half, and he does, but from the defensive side he doesn't get tight enough to Bergwijn for the shot, first one. He plays Son on, and then it's his deflection trying to make up for it. So, and it does, for me...
Not his best evening, is that what you're saying?
It's not been his best evening, but for me, it goes to show you how far John Stone's out of the picture when you continue with Fernandinho at centre-half.
Here's Bernardo Silva, still foraging for Manchester City with 4 minutes plus stoppages remaining. Gundogan pats it back for Fernandinho well forward. Only Jesus, though, anywhere near the Spurs penalty area at the moment. Manchester City are playing it sideways. Otamendi to Walker. Looks up. Knocks it into the feet of Gundogan, but back towards the centre circle go Manchester City. Dyer trying to stop De Bruyne. Just hasn't been able to make the same impact, Kevin De Bruyne, in this second half that he did in the first. Fernandinho into the feet of Otamendi. Otamendi back into the centre circle of Fernandinho once more.
Yeah, but Tottenham are set. They're just sliding across, making Man City play in front of them.
Here's Jesus trying to turn away from Davinson Sanchez and plays it out to the right hand side of Bernardo Silva. Jesus again. I think in a minute someone in the Manchester City shirt is just going to have to take a pot shot from distance because they can't get in behind this Spurs defence. Maybe they can now, though. Hugo Lloris with a Superman lunge and grabs it almost off the forehead of Gabriel Jesus.
Yeah, he's been excellent tonight, Lloris. It's a lovely little chip pass from Fernandinho to Jesus, who's trying to just head it.
Massive shout from Hugo Lloris as he came out.
Yeah, he's been a big miss for Tottenham. Big player, senior player.
Forward it goes for Spurs. Lamela the target. Fernandinho there ahead of him. Dyer then nods it down to Ndombele. If he could have released Son down the left, he was in. Won by Aurier on halfway. Lo Celso with a lovely ball over the top again. Scoops it forward for Aurier. Cancelo has to come across and just stab it into the stands. He's had another really good game, Giovanni Lo Celso. He does his defensive duties. He's got a range of passing that can quickly turn defence onto the attack.
I think it's been very much backs against the wall, doing the job. Him and Winks have done a lot of work. They haven't had much ball. They haven't dictated the tempo they are now. That's because Man City are down to 10. They can make a few passes. But for me, Alderweireld and Lloris have been the key players for Tottenham tonight. They led by example at the back. Lloris has made a key save from the penalty.
Back it goes from Gundogan to Ederson, the Manchester City goalkeeper. Walker caught by Son. I don't really think he wanted the ball from Ederson. He's making that point to his keeper in no uncertain terms, Kyle Walker.
There's time to play and time not to, and that wasn't a great ball from Ederson into Kyle Walker. He had 3 Tottenham players around him.
All A's from the Spurs faithful, but it's given away by Lo Celso. Minutes after I praised him. Bernardo Silva into De Bruyne in the area. De Bruyne looking now, and there could be a chance. Helped goalwards by Bernardo Silva. Blocked on his way through by Dyer. De Bruyne's going to cross it here towards the far post and punch behind by Lloris. That was going in.
Yeah, it was certainly sneaking in at the far post, but how many times have we said it? Another great opportunity is Bernardo Silva. Kevin De Bruyne tees him up, doesn't get the finish away, and then eventually comes back to Kevin De Bruyne, who tries to pick out the far post. But it's a scuff shot from Bernardo Silva, and Man City's finishing today has been absolutely abysmal. Great save against from Lloris, second time from De Bruyne, and I think he's maybe got a bit of cramp in his left hamstring.
Well, he's going to have to carry on, Hugo Lloris, because they've used all their changes, Tottenham. Did go down immediately, clutching the left leg. We're into the last minute of the 90, and Hugo Lloris is back on his feet as Manchester City prepare for the corner. In it comes from Bernardo Silva. Lloris came, but it's headed clear by Davinson Sanchez. Cancelo now into the feet of Kyle Walker. Got to get it forward quickly here, Manchester City, if they're to stage any kind of comeback. In it goes to Gabriel Jesus with a header. He was off balance and it's tamely nodded into the gloves of Lloris.
Yeah, Tottenham switched off. It was a good cross far to the far post, and Jesus is on his own. I think it's Winks switches off. Isn't much power on the cross, so he's had to generate it, but again it's another average finish from a Man City forward, and really the reason why they haven't been out of sight and Tottenham have been able to get a foothold in this game is really down to Man City just not being clinical enough.
Spurs 2, Manchester City 0. 5 added minutes at the end of the game here on Premier League Live. 5 minutes for Manchester City to get themselves at least on the score sheet. Cancelo, what are you doing? Shot from miles out, the whistle had blown, and he's gone down holding his head when Manchester City need to get back in the game.
Yeah,
I mean, how stupid can you be?
Well, maybe he didn't hear the whistle, but just looking at Jose Mourinho, picture of contentment. He would have dreamed that game plan last night. He knew he couldn't match City in terms of possession. He would have had to eke out a result another way. Things have went for him and things have went against him. He'll say that City should have been down to 10 long before it actually happens.
Here's Son racing towards the penalty area, turning away from Kyle Walker, not the return that he would have hoped for back on Tottenham soil. Kyle Walker, who played 229 games for Spurs.
And I did think that the first goal was key, and Steven Bergwijn can take a bow for that finish. I thought playing this way, the Tottenham fans will accept it while you're in the game. The longer it went on, Man City got more frustrated, and then that one moment of quality, chest pass and a volley from
brilliant
Steven
from Ndombele, getting away from Fernandinho. Lo Celso scoops it forward to Son. They want a third goal here. Tottenham. Son shoots into the arms of Ederson.
Yeah, and that certainly would have been the cherry on the cake from Son. Tottenham worked it well and broke into him. He drifted inside, tried to bend it with his right foot into the top corner. Fortunately got a shot all wrong, straight down Ederson's throat, but Tottenham will be absolutely delighted. And I think whenever Pep shows his players the video, you know, it'll all be about missed chances. It's as simple as that.
3 minutes of the 5 that have been added on still to play. Bernardo Silva against Tanganga. Back towards the halfway line, and Walker floated out for this left touchline and Cancelo, but it's stabbed away by Aurier. One back by Rodri. Fernandinho trots over halfway. Walker forward, and then Gundogan into the area looking for Jesus. It's cleared by Davinson Sanchez but picked up by Gundogan. How costly his first half penalty miss. Gundogan across the 6-yard box, and Hugo Lloris just glances it clear. Sinking a bit deep here, Tottenham. Fernandinho running into the area. Good footwork from him. Blocked by Winks. Back to De Bruyne. De Bruyne scooping it back into the area. Tottenham get it clear again, and then neatly done by Serge Aurier. Winks trying to release Lamela. They can't get out, Spurs. For the moment, Manchester City unable to penetrate this back line. Walker down the right hand side for Bernardo Silva. Nobody in the centre for Manchester City at the moment. Gabriel Jesus getting there belatedly as De Bruyne crosses. Oh, and Winks has headed it back towards his own goal. Luckily for him, into the arms only of Hugo Lloris.
Yeah, and I love to see the puff of cheeks from Harry Winks. The smile now. Could have been a bad moment for him, and would have given City a bit of a lift with a couple of minutes left.
Forward it goes from Toby Alderweireld. 90 seconds to go. Nervousness still around this Tottenham Hotspur stadium, but their side closing in on a precious victory. These Tottenham fans in the race for the top 4. Lamela away from Rodri, who's tired. Fernandinho makes the foul, and the yellow card is out. Was it for Rodri, who just clipped the heels there of Eric Lamela?
Yeah, I think it was the first foul, Alex. Rodri just lazy in his defending, trying to get back, and Lamela just goes by him far too easily. Just ekes up the clock for Tottenham, which will be a fantastic victory for him.
60 seconds only remaining. Tottenham 2, Manchester City 0. A night of high drama. It always promised to be a firecracker, and it has certainly delivered. Tottenham fans in good voice now. Manchester City in possession. Surely no time to get themselves back in the game. Rodri out to the right hand side. Although dramatic finishes between these two have been a history of the fixture. And here's Bernardo Silva into the area. Davinson Sanchez has headed against his own crossbar. De Bruyne with a shot blocked by Aurier.
And when it's your night, Alex. That just about summed up. I think if you'd asked any Tottenham fan, we've seen a picture of Mourinho smiling on the bench. If you'd asked any Tottenham fan in the first half where they'd been 2-0 up, they wouldn't have believed you.
Well, that is the last action of a pulsating afternoon in North London. A handshake between Mourinho and Guardiola. After 10 years of fractious rivalry between the two, it's Jose Mourinho who comes out on top. 2 second-half goals from Steven Bergwijn on debut, and Son, on his 150th game in the Premier League, have given Tottenham 3 precious points in their pursuit of Chelsea in 4th place. That after Zinchenko was shown a brainless red card for Manchester City. There was no way back after that, and it finishes here. Tottenham 2, Manchester City 0. What a game, Steve Lomas.
Yeah, and it's the old cliche, a game of 2 halves. It had everything. Penalties, penalty saves, sending-offs that should have been, sending-offs that did happen. Zinchenko really let his team down, like you said. First half, stupid booking, get involved in a melee, and then he just didn't want to run with Harry Winks down the line, didn't want to stay with him, and took the easy way out. He really let his team down, and I'd imagine in that DVD session when Pep's shown all the missed chances in the first half, Shevchenko will be hanging his head in shame.
A massive win then for Tottenham, the conclusion of another dramatic weekend in the Premier League. The Spurs players hugging each other, embracing, high fives to Steven Bergwijn as well. What a debut for him, what an introduction to English football for the talented Dutchman signed from PSV for £26 million. Earlier today it finished Burnley 0, Arsenal 0, but all of the drama came here in North London. Tottenham leapfrogging Sheffield United into 5th place in the Premier League. 4 points now between Spurs and Mourinho's old club Chelsea. Is this the turning point in their season? Most inside this Tottenham Hotspur Stadium will hope so. 22 points now the gap between Manchester City, the defending champions, and Liverpool, the champions in waiting. You can tie the red ribbons on the trophy, that is for sure. It's finished here. Tottenham 2, Manchester City 0. You are listening to Premier League Live.
TalkSport. Download the TalkSport app now for online fun, fixture talk, and lashings of live football. Football. Then stick it in your ear. Ouch. TalkSport. This is what real sport sounds like.
Hello, I'm Tom Rennie from TalkSport, and you've made the decision to listen to Premier League Live. I commend you on this decision. You're clearly a person who knows what's up and what's happening, as well as other phrases from 80s movies said by generic cool people in said movies. For example, Emilio Estevez. With that being said, why not try downloading TalkSport's football-related Game Day podcasts? Ahead of a Premier League weekend, usually on Thursday, Sam Matterface hosts the Game Day Premier League Preview Show podcast. On Saturday, we cut up the very best of our manager reaction and player interviews, bung in a few funny callers, and hey presto, you get the Your Verdict podcast. And on Monday morning, Danny Kelly is joined by the likes of Mark Webster, Mark Smith, Steve Lomas, David Connolly, and a host of other affordable names to look back at the footballing weekend, picking out the winners and losers in the Record Book podcast. Just search for Game Day podcast and they will appear. I'm in some of these shows too.
TalkSport. Don't be like Alan Brazil. Never miss a day's output with the new updated TalkSport app.